Welcome to the Lounge Lizards podcast. So good to have you here. It's a leisure and lifestyle podcast founded on our love of premium cigars, as well as whiskey, travel, food, work, and whatever else we feel like getting into. My name is Gizmo. Tonight I'm joined by Rooster, Senator, Pagoda, and Bam Bam. And our plan is to smoke a cigar, drink some scotch, talk about life, and of course, have some laughs. So take this as your 117th official invitation to join us and become a card-carrying lounge lizard. Plan to meet us here once a week. We're going to smoke a Cuban cigar tonight, share our thoughts on it, and give you our formal lizard rating. We begin the three-part recap of our 2024 trip to Cuba this week, including our first impressions of Havana, almost a year after our first visit, an update on our restaurant and lounge recommendations, and the massive impacts of inflation, all among a variety of other things for the next 2 hours. So sit back, get your favorite drink, light up a cigar, and enjoy as we pair 14-year-age Glenlivet Single Malt Scotch with the Punch Double Corona. A Cuban Double Corona on the pod tonight. It's the Punch Double Corona. It's a 49 ring gauge cigar by 7 5/8 inches long. And boys, I think we have finally entered the battle of the Cuban Double Coronas.
Giz, the moment you handed this cigar to me, my excitement level went through the roof.
I saw it.
It's a beautiful cigar.
It is. And it's not one of the Double Coronas that's widely chased like a Lusitania and the Hoyo. You know, this is kind of like the...
Is it due to availability? Or
I guess, and I just think that Punch is kind of a... if you're in the know kind of marca.
I love that marca.
You know? And I know Rooster.
I do too.
One of
I know you do.
I love Punch.
Oh, I do too.
I love the Punch.
Yeah, same.
But I have not had this.
Short
I've
to
not
Punch
had
too?
the double Corona.
Yeah.
Yeah, short to Punch is
Delicious.
is a phenomenal stick.
Look at this flagship cigar. This is
Yeah.
quite a stick, man.
We like their mother factory too,
Yeah, La Corona.
Corona.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
We have a lot to talk about today, boys. Back from Cuba. Very exciting. But first, let's cut this thing. See, we're getting on the cold draw on the wrapper. So I've never had one of these. Like Rooster just said, I've had this box in the humidor probably for about a year and a half. I was very happy that the feet on these looked like they weren't overpacked. And sometimes when you pull a Lusitania, it's a little tough, you know?
Come on.
Bam's giving me the hand.
That cold draw is outstanding. Senator.
Just the draw is wide open. Perfect.
But it's
Construction's
delicious.
great.
I'm getting a lot of dry fruit here.
Mine's a slight bit resistant, but dried fruit, coarse cedar, which is interesting because it came out of a dress box.
But it's so pleasant. Went with the V.
Oh, you went V-cut.
A la Danilo.
Look at you.
Very
Yes, sir.
interesting.
Is this slightly smaller in ring gauge than the Lucy?
No, it's identical, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know why a Lucy feels bigger in the hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, boys, let's light this thing. The Punch Double Corona. Again, it's a 49 ring gauge cigar by 7 5/8 inches long. Its factory name is the Prominentis. And these cigars are slightly over 2 years old. SOU is the factory code.
Excellent code.
December 21.
Excellent code. And do we know what these cost?
These are somewhere now between $35 and $40 a piece.
By the way, I got a couple in one of the stores in Cuba. It was $24.50 a stick.
A couple of these?
Havana Libre.
You're joking.
Wow.
They had these. They also had the Hoyo double Coronas.
Really?
26 bucks. Damn. Yeah.
Well, this is great on the
Oh.
light.
Amazing.
Wow. Wow.
The retrohale on this, I'm just like, honestly, there's a lot of fruit there. It's like bubblegum for me. It's not. It's right there.
Definitely getting the cedar, dried fruit. A little spicy, a little bready.
Bread, like a biscuit. For me, it's biscuit fruit forward at the moment. We're going to need to get boxes of these.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, this is excellent.
It's very complex on the light.
Oh, yeah.
Why did we not get more of these?
Right?
Right? We
Because
only
of the-
got a couple.
Correct.
Because of those custom guys in bloody Miami.
Pagoda's favorite people.
Yeah, he loves those folks. So, boys, like I said, these come out of a dress box of 25 cigars. They used to, unfortunately, come in a slide lid box of 50 cigars, which was discontinued in 2017. They used to come in a dress box of 10 cigars, a dress box of 25 cigars in cellophane, and the coolest one is they used to come in a cajon of 100 cigars in a bundle.
Oh my goodness. That's just too much to take.
I'll take it.
Oh, I mean, we can't get that anymore.
I would settle for a 50 cab.
Oh yeah.
I would love a 50
That would
cab
be
of these.
incredible.
Do they exist?
Well, 2017 they discontinued.
Giz probably has 7 of them. He's not telling us about.
This is actually, so like I said, I've had this box in my humidor for about a year and a half now.
Box of 10?
Box of 25. They don't make the 10s anymore.
Look at you.
And I have not smoked one. This is my first one smoking tonight. I put that box aside for the pod to see how it does. And then as it performs tonight, I'll start pulling on them, and see what happens.
It's nice of you to wait to share a double Corona with us, as we always do.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yeah, I remember that story with you guys. The Hoyos. The listener will remember that. Very loudly upset with you guys for smoking the Hoyo Double Corona
Right.
on Puva's porch without me, even though I procured them.
Correct.
250 cabs. So, boys, this cigar is old. It appears in the 1962 Cuba Tobacco catalog, so it's definitely pre-1960 release. It's the flagship of the Punch line, even though when most folks think of Punch, they're thinking of Punch Punch.
Mm-hmm.
They're thinking of Punch Short to Punch. They're thinking of a lot of the regionals that come out of Punch, because this is a market that's used a lot for regional editions. And of course, some of the La Casa del Habano special releases, like the Punch 48, which one of our Lizard friends here in the lounge, Lizard Henry, loves that cigar. So this one, simply by the nature of a double Corona, the leaf being so large, harder to get, harder to roll, and not being as in favor with the current common smoker, double Coronas are just not as available anymore. So like you said, it was nice to see them priced fairly in Havana when we were there last week.
Shocking, that price, honestly.
So what are you guys getting on this?
I'm getting a nuttiness in this cigar that kind of reminds me of the Punch 48, but a different type of nut. The Punch 48 is like a walnut, like a kind of intense nut flavor. This is more like an almond or cashew, maybe even. I like it.
Yeah. I love the cigar so far.
Complemented also by a little spice.
Agree.
Yeah, there's
touch.
just a touch of spice.
Not
That's a
much at
spice.
all.
Yeah.
Just the
a
right
touch.
amount.
Yeah.
I would say it's a little bit on the fuller side.
Flavor-wise.
Yeah, like medium. Yeah.
I think firmly medium.
Yeah.
I agree with that. So this is now the 5th Punch cigar that we've done on the podcast. We did the Mantua regional edition, the Punch Punch, the Punch Duke, which was also a regional, Mexican regional, and we did the Punch Short to Punch. So this is the 5th one we're doing. And like I said, this is the flagship of the marca. We did cover on a recent Punch episode, I believe it was the Short to Punch episode, a little bit of the history. So I'll kind of breeze through this real fast. Punch brand was established around 1840. It was designed and very popular in the British market. It draws branding elements from Mr. Punch, which was a puppet show in the UK, as well as royal iconography. It was founded and owned by Manuel Lopez Fernandez via his firm Juan Valle y Cia from 1884 until 1925. And his name is still on some of the Punch logos. So if you see the Punch logo, you'll actually see his name on it. After the blue mold crisis in the early 1980s, a lot of Punch's models were canceled. And then in 2002, when Habanos SA really came in and kind of wiped out a lot of this stuff, a lot of Punch stuff went away. And now, as of today, this is classified by Habanos in the value category of the portfolio brands. And of course, like I said, it's very popular for regional editions. And they say it comprises medium strength cigars, which I think is accurate in these. But I think some of the others that we listed kind of lean a little bit more mild. But I don't think of strong cigars when I think of Punch.
No.
Or even medium, really.
But flavorful cigars, though.
Delicious.
That comes to mind.
Delicious.
Like the Punch Punch and the Short to Punch for me are outstanding cigars.
They are.
And delicious.
And then finally, like Senator noted, the mother factory of Punch is La Corona,
which we love too.
In downtown Havana.
Yeah.
So let's go through some of the other cigars in their line very briefly. Currently available, the Coronations, which comes in a dress box of 25 in tubos. The double Corona we're smoking tonight, the Petite Coronation, same configuration as the Big Brother Coronation. The Punch, as we discussed, which comes in a dress box of 25 cigars and a dress box of 10 cigars. We reviewed that cigar. That's a Corona Gorda, 56 by 5 and 5/8. And then, like we mentioned, the Punch 48, which is a Hermosa's number 3 Gran Corona, 48 by 5.5, has the LCDH second band on it. And then the Short to Punch, which is a Petit Robusto, 50 by 4 3/4 inches. There's a new Petit Corona coming out, which I'm sure the Rooster here is going to be very interested in. It's going to be released early 24, it says. It's called the Triunfos, and it's a 42 by 5 1/8 inch. So that'll
nice.
be pretty cool.
Yeah.
A lot of canceled cigars. I don't want to go through them all, but this line definitely was cut down quite a bit. Twice, like we said, in the 1980s and then again in the early 2000s. So that's the rundown on Punch. And as we noted, by the way, it shares a name with a very unrelated cigar brand sold in the United States here, which is very commonly attached to that bobblehead thing
Right.
that you always see at some of the cigar shops.
I use
And
those. I use
gas
those
stations.
and gas stations. Yeah. I use those in the garden.
You put those in the garden.
Yep. You plant a tomato, put one of those sticks right next to it in the ground.
Keeps the bird away.
Right. And the bugs.
But I must say the draw on this, for this being such a long cigar,
Mhm.
is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go as far as saying this is the best constructed double Corona I've ever had.
I agree. And the fact that we have 5 of them, and when I was going through the box, I always look at the feed of the cigars that I pull for the podcast, just so we try to eliminate any construction and draw issues. And the first 5 I pulled were these 5. So the fact that none of us are having an issue with how many issues we've had with Cuban cigars is a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah. We didn't mention the quality of the wrapper. I'm looking at Rooster cigar. It's slightly glistening. There's a beauty to this wrapper that I love. Very slightly toothy, beautiful color.
This is really significant in the hand too. Like it just feels great.
Yeah, it's like a late hour, right? Like one of those, a Churchill, anything like that feels fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I love the size.
Yeah.
I've kind of had really bad luck with Lucy's.
Have you?
Not good. Yeah, even like a lot of aged Lucy's, they just draw issues, plugged. Haven't had good luck. I mean, just 5 of us smoking a Punch double Corona, no draw issues, burning great,
Yep.
fantastic smoke.
The combustion's really nice too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of nice smoke output, and I'm finding even as I was talking through the Punch history, I didn't draw it for probably 2 minutes, right? 3 minutes.
You're not going to have to nurse this
And
thing.
I don't think I'm going to have to touch it up. The
No.
burn is really sharp,
And
really nice.
Honestly, the retrohale, I'm doing it now on every draw. It is outstanding.
I think when I asked if this is smaller in ring gauge than the Lucy, the dress box, this coming out of a dress box, I've only smoked Lucy's out of a 50 cab. I think it's kind of just made it a little more compact and it feels nicer in the hand. And I also think that this isn't overpacked with tobacco. Just helps. I love, like, for me in the hand, a Churchill, there's like nothing that feels better than that. A double Corona I like, but sometimes can feel a little large or just kind of unwieldy. This is perfect.
Sometimes I find too, to your point, some of the double Coronas, I've had Hoyos, I've had Lucy's that are quite a bit heavier than this, even though it's the same size. Like, I don't know what it is. They're just more densely packed than this is tonight. But I was relieved when I pulled the box out that these didn't have a ton of weight to them.
Yeah.
I agree. A Lucy can literally feel like a baseball bat in your hand.
Totally right. So, boys, let's talk about it. We have just come back from our second visit as a group to Havana. We had an amazing time. Senator and I went for 10 days. Some guys went for 7. A couple guys went for less than that, just because of other commitments. But we had a wonderful, wonderful trip again.
Incredible.
It remains my favorite place in the world. I think we all share that feeling. But any first impressions returning almost a year later now? What were some of your first impressions this go around?
For me, honestly, the moment I landed, I felt like I was walking back into my home. Walking into the Airbnb, it felt like home.
That's literally the first word that came to mind, home.
It was very comfortable. We're used to going now, but I'm still enamored by the beauty of it. But walking into our house from the airport, the drive over, just felt like I was walking home. It's great.
I just think it's so refreshing. Like the contrast of We live in the States where so many of our interactions can feel very transactional, even superficial, materialistic. And you just go to a place like Cuba and it's the complete opposite, right? Like nobody's sitting there on their cell phones all day. Like you're having meaningful conversations with
Mhm.
people. Here we have everything and we're complaining as if like our lives are so difficult. There they have so little and they're not complaining, right? Like they're just enjoying each other's company. And for me, it was just so fun. The people that we have met along the way as we've spent more time there, they feel like family when you see them. And it's just
Yeah.
so nice to be able to spend time with them. And so for me, there's no place that I'm able to be as present as Havana.
Yeah, I mean it's also the fact that having gone there a couple of times, like the first time you kind of didn't know what to expect. And now every time you go back, you're like you meet the same people, they know you, you recognize them, they recognize you. There's a level of comfort that you feel
Right.
that you kind of, have to go there a few times to
Yeah.
feel that.
And you know the streets,
You know the streets, like
where to go, the
Yeah.
direction to go.
True.
It's much more comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
I felt, I think the first time I went, I was so very nervous. You walk into the airport and there are a couple of these guards standing over there. You're walking into a country which you've heard of and you have a very different perspective.
This is why Pagoda got stopped.
And, but this time around,
There's a bullseye on his face.
Well, his eyes are wide open looking around like binoculars in the airport.
hey, I'm nervous around authority. Let's put it this way. But having said that, the second time, I flew in on my own, and I showed up a bit late, but I was so comfortable. I was, it really is a place you get once you get familiar with it, you feel at home. It's excellent. Me and Rooster often talk about it. It's somewhat reminiscent of going to India. There's going, at least at the time when we grew up around 20, 30 years ago, there's a bit of slowness to the thing. It's not so fast paced and everything, takes its own time, and they're very sociable, they're conversationalist and very, very helpful. I lost my luggage, they helped me through. They in fact delivered it the same night in Cuba,
great.
which was fantastic.
By the way,
So-
if you lose your luggage at Newark, you're not getting it the same day.
No, you're
no,
not.
no.
It's not happening.
And,
No.
and Pagoda, what airline delivered it same day at night?
It was American.
Just clarifying. A
Great
plus
experience,
service.
yeah. But overall, felt really good, yeah.
I mean, I think for me, I think a combination of what Senator and Pagoda said kind of sum up my thoughts. Number one, like I feel as soon as I land there, just time slows down,
Mhm.
and then what Senator said, your ability to be present and every interaction is real, and it's like you're in the moment. There's nothing else distracting you from it. Your phone's not blowing up because there's not a lot of internet going on down there. You don't have Wi-Fi. You only have your cell phone with the data, but it's like everything about my perspective changes when I go there, and I think it's why when I come back, I feel as refreshed as I do.
Sure. We all
Because
do.
it just absolutely recharges my batteries in a way that no other place I've traveled in the world
Mhm.
has ever even come close to.
Viva
know?
Cuba.
Viva Cuba.
It kind of brings you back in time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
looking at the structures, you're looking at different towns. Like Miramar kind of reminds me of there's an area in Delhi. It totally reminds me of that. It's like a diplomatic enclave, and
Mhm.
the streets in India just like that.
Big, beautiful homes.
Yeah,
Miramar reminds me of like Embassy Row in DC.
yeah.
That's true.
Just like beautiful and it feels so stately.
Very
Right.
quiet.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of beautiful architecture and structures over
Oh,
there
sure.
from all the different
Oh, yeah.
countries and their embassies and their diplomatic
Yeah.
homes.
And the homes are not like cookie cutter
Mm-mm.
homes like here. Each one is individual. It's like it looks different than the second one.
Honestly, I found downtown Havana more interesting from the point of view of the way the setting, the quality of the buildings. They're in poor shape, but you stumble onto a gem within this block of dilapidated buildings. It's incredible how they focus and invest in certain buildings, and the rest of it is it's Cuba, right? So it's really
Yeah.
it's very ironic.
The inside is I mean, I wouldn't say most, but in some of the homes, like the inside is very updated.
Oh yeah,
It's just the outside looks like in shambles, but
It's
the
true.
inside is
it's true.
totally nice.
Yeah.
Even the cars I mean, I was cracking up with some of the cabs that we got in. They had video screens put
Oh,
in with
dude.
like music videos
In a
playing as the car is
1952
driving.
in a 52 Chevy.
I mean, can you imagine?
You're watching a Carol G video in a 1950
So-
Chevy.
with a Hyundai engine.
So the cab that you and I were in, it had a digital screen.
Yeah.
I think it had a map of some kind, and it was tricked out. It was beautiful, and it had a Hyundai engine in there or a Mercedes engine.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And this time around, I think Rooster and I we were walking down one of the streets, and it was like a mini bazaar, and I didn't know that existed in Cuba. Like the last time, I don't think we'd explored that much in terms of the local street in downtown Havana, and it was a mini bazaar with people coming and trying to sell us rum and cigars, and it was fantastic. It was
Yeah.
yeah.
We were on Obispo Street.
Yeah, in Obispo, yeah.
That's the main drag.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, the other thing I find too, and I think we touched upon this a year ago when we did these, recap episodes of our first trip as a group there together. I just love how resourceful the Cuban people are. Even our host at the Airbnb, he's always tinkering with something, fixing
about to say
something,
that.
repairing something.
Yeah.
He's got a buddy over. They've got the hood up on the car. They're fixing something. Like they just consume their time with things that really matter in the moment and things that need to be done. And to me, it's just
It's refreshing.
It's a refreshing, peaceful way to live. And like you said, it's like going back in time. It's like
Yeah.
going back 60 years in time.
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
also what choice do they have? It's
They
like
don't have a
necessity
choice.
is the mother of invention there.
Yeah.
And it's so true there.
Yeah.
So they keep things going.
Yeah.
Despite all the challenges, despite all the
Sure.
gasoline prices are
Oh
like
gosh.
Yeah.
going up 5 times, supposed to be 35 CUP a liter, and they're paying like 250 CUP in the black market, and there is no gasoline. There's such a vast shortage of gasoline in the whole island.
Yeah, so inflation has definitely taken its toll in the last year. There's no question about that. We've seen it obviously in the prices that we experience, but we're also hearing it from, the folks that we're in cabs with, the folks that we're staying with and we meet. The prices have really increased significantly for them because of inflation. I mean, when they used to earn 30 American dollars in converted from Cuban pesos a month for working, that $30 because of the inflation is now closer to 20.
Yeah.
So their pay has not been adjusted for inflation. So they have to resort to, like you said, buying and selling gasoline on the black market,
Yeah.
and buying and selling phones and technology and other things. I mean, it's a really difficult situation.
Yeah.
It's a damn shame that we have an embargo. The U.S. is a net exporter of oil at this point. We have it.
Right.
Correct.
We just can't send it there.
Yeah. And the other thing that was interesting was we not even a single time exchanged currency this
That's
time.
true.
Yeah,
That's
we
true.
used
Past
to.
couple of times we always did, and this time it was just the dollar was widely accepted and actually wanted,
Preferred.
Yeah.
preferred.
Yeah,
It
they
was
want
a
that over
preferred,
pesos.
yeah.
And I think
Despite the embargo and all of that.
Yeah, it's very convenient.
And I
Yeah.
think a lot of the restaurants that we went to that used to accept pesos to transact, they don't want them anymore. They want US dollars now because the inflation's so unpredictable that they have this pile of CUP that tomorrow, the gas, like you said, is going to be 5 times what it is today.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
the
but-
Cuban government announced that.
In the past we used CUP because the exchange rate wasn't that good. So when you go to a restaurant, they're kind of you're getting a better rate if you pay in CUP. This
Mhm.
time it was a little bit even keel.
Yeah.
Yeah, they leveled it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is unfortunate. I think you used 2 pretty serious words as far as the situation there. It's, a humanitarian crisis. And I think that a lot of, news outlets have used those specific words to describe what's going on there. And, obviously we're fortunate that we go there with the American dollar. We're very, very privileged when we
Yeah.
go there. There's no question about that.
That's a blessing.
There's no doubt, but the people living there are really in a seriously difficult situation right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I think the first time we went, it was astonishing to think of how the average person lives on like $30 US a month.
Yeah.
And with the rampant inflation now, like that $30 is like half.
How are they making ends meet, right? It's a mystery.
It's
And
very
they're
difficult.
yeah, they've got to be resourceful.
And I think there's there's no doubt that there's a lot of hungry people in Cuba right now.
Yeah.
Which is a real tragedy.
Yeah.
And I think for the listener out there, it roots us in our mission when we go there. it used to be about cigars. It used to be about rum and going there as an experience, as this kind of brotherhood that we have. And now, having gone there that first time, it changed the moment our feet hit the ground. And now when we go back, it's really in service of the Cuban people as we elect when
Yeah.
we book our flight and we tell them why we're going. We load up our suitcases, we bring as much as we can with us to give away to people. We brought clothes and school supplies and toys and medicine and even acupuncture needles and other things that they needed. It's you need to come with as much as you can to help these people out that
Sure.
you meet along the way.
You've got to be as giving as possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just watching the people's faces light up when you give them stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's nothing better. There's
It's
nothing
true.
gives me more joy than, seeing those people happy. I mean,
course.
it's a very small thing for us to bring a suitcase full of stuff, but for them, it's huge.
Yeah, it's tremendous.
I agree. I mean, I couldn't believe one of the this woman who works as part of the staff at the Airbnb that we were at. We try to generously tip the staff. They work really hard, and so apparently, from the last time, she was talking about how with our tip, she was able to purchase a microwave, and how she thought that in her entire lifetime she would never be able to have a microwave.
By the way,
Or-
let's note she's 60 years old,
Yeah,
Yeah, or get her teeth done.
and
right?
she got and with that same tip from last time,
Right.
she was able to repair all of her teeth.
That's incredible. Those are life-changing opportunities.
And the thing is we can't fix all these problems.
Mm-mm.
Certainly, the United States can if they can alleviate a
course.
lot of this if we were to get rid of this stupid embargo. But we could impact on a micro level, make real serious impacts for people, and,
Yeah.
and it really is a nice thing that we're able to do.
I mean, things are very dynamic there. Every time you go, it's different. Things are different for the people. Things are different for as a U.S. tourist,
Mm-hmm.
and anything can change at a moment's notice.
Yeah.
right. I mean, even geopolitically, things change so
Yeah.
fast. I mean, the fact that when we went in March, all we heard about was growing Chinese influence in Cuba. That was really kind of the talk of Havana. Then you fast forward, and now everybody's talking about Russian
It's
influence exploding in Havana, and
Russian investment as well.
Exactly, they're
Yeah.
allowing them to transact in the ruble. They're giving out these multi-decade leases to put up buildings.
Yeah.
These Russian investors.
They're
and-
building Russian banks.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, somebody was saying, a Cuban national, that you're not going to recognize Cuba because Cuba is not going to own Cuba.
No,
China and Russia will own
that's
Cuba.
exactly right. And it's a crime.
That's a shame.
It's a crime.
and the sad part, to Gizmo's point of the United States could really do a whole lot of good there, is you talk to all these Cuban nationals and they have such an affection for America, and they would much rather American investment be made there
So
and
true.
us treat them decently
Sure.
than Chinese or Russian investment that the track record thus far has not shown. I mean, none of this money is getting funneled back to the
No.
Cuban people. I mean, we heard stories of talking about these buildings and things that are going up. The labor that they're even using, they're not hiring Cuban
No.
nationals
They
to build
import
these
it.
buildings.
They're importing labor.
They
That's
talked
right.
about, I think, they say some from
Some
India.
said Pakistan.
Pakistan,
Yeah.
they were
Pakistan,
bringing
that's
in
where it's from.
workers. I mean, that's just fucked up. These
It's
people need
unbelievable.
money. This is their country, and they won't even give them these jobs.
Right.
But why can't the Cuban government do something about that? That
The
make
Cuban
it the law
government
that you have to hire Cuban.
the Cuban government is partnering with these entities that are coming in to invest in Cuba.
Here's
It's
why.
a partnership.
Here's why. There is no competition, right? So the United States has an embargo. If you're China or Russia, all you're saying to them is, this is how we're going to do it. You don't like it. Who else is going to invest here?
Right.
No one. And so they dictate all the terms, and this is how the Cuban people get screwed over.
But why bring outside labor when you have labor in Cuba?
I mean, what they were telling us is that somehow it's even cheaper.
I don't
And
know.
they,
how
and
that's-
they might be more skilled.
No skills.
It might be a
skills, I
skill
think.
thing too.
Because construction, they look for engineers and people with a certain amount of skill.
Yeah, but how could it be cheaper than $30 a month?
Yeah, I'm
I
not
don't know.
sure about the factor of being less expensive, but Pagoda makes
Maybe
a
the
good
level
point.
of skill.
Yeah,
or-
there's a point there.
The thing that same person said too that really hit me hard was, and he said it very simply, was that Cuba's always had an abusive husband, and an abusive drunk husband, and unfortunately, what the United States could offer would be hopefully the opposite of that, a supportive partner, a helpful partner, but the geopolitical nature of what's going on is right now prohibitive, and it
Yeah.
doesn't look like there's any end in sight to this. And unfortunately, every day that goes by, there's more non-U.S. influence happening there, 90 miles from Miami. So it's a real tragedy.
It doesn't seem possible for U.S. influence to take hold there because of what's happening.
Exactly.
And as you said, it's growing by the day.
Yeah.
So as that grows more and more, how could the United States have any influence? It's impossible.
And
Damage is done.
And the thing that we keep hearing too is that the Chinese and the Russians and the other national influences who are moving in there do not have a care or regard for the betterment of the Cuban people. And that is the saddest part of all of it, and so that all must be said. And unfortunately for everybody smoking along with us tonight, that is an important part of this conversation, is the reality of what's happening there with these people that we've really come to love.
Yeah.
And this culture we've really come to love and feel at times, even on a very small level, a part of, and feel very welcomed at, not in a transactional way.
Right.
So I think that those things are very important, and we feel those things are very important to be shared on the podcast.
Agreed.
So, boys, we're coming to the end of the first third here on the Punch Double Corona. How's it going for everybody?
I want this box.
This is unbelievable.
I
for
want
me.
the rest of your cigars.
No.
Okay.
How about somebody else?
Okay, I'll take it.
I think Senator hit the nail on the head earlier. It's a sophisticated cigar. There are notes. There are sweet notes. There are savory notes delivered in this beautiful, smooth vehicle. It's incredible. Fantastic smoke.
I'm blown away.
Yeah,
Honestly, it's
really.
just so refined. It's complex. All the flavor notes are notes that I pursue in different cigars that this is kind of brought together in
That's
one.
true.
I'm really shocked. I love this cigar.
To me, this is right now better than the best Lucy I've ever had.
Oh yeah.
I'm happy to hear that.
Oh yeah.
And maybe I have not had a lot of Lusitanias or have had not a great experience, but this is better than any Lucy I've had.
Outstanding cigar.
I mean, it pains me to
I
hear
concur.
I'm sorry, but it's the truth for me.
No, I mean, what I'm going to say is it pains me to hear that because everybody knows my affinity for Partagas, so it's hard to hear that. But you're not wrong. This is spectacular.
Right?
Yeah. It's difficult to smoke this slow because it's so good. I'm a little bit ahead of you guys. I need to ratchet back.
So you guys mentioned the Lusitania. I want to go through some of the other double Coronas that are available from Cuba. There's not many of them. So right now in the catalog, the Hoyo de Monterrey double Corona, of course, the Partagas Lusitanias, which Brewster just mentioned. We did that on the podcast with Rob Isla. Did not perform well, to pretty much everybody's point here tonight. We have the Punch double Corona in our hand, and the Ramon Ionis Gigantes are the only ones left. Some of the notable ones that have been discontinued include the Vegas Robena Don Alejandro, which is very similar to the Classico in its elusiveness and the way that collectors chase it. The St. Louis Rey double Corona was discontinued in 2013. And there have been some other double Coronas along the way. Edición Limitada from Cohiba, from Monte Cristo, some other things, but those are the ones that have been notably available through the years as a double Corona. So,
What year did you say this cigar is?
this is a December 21, so it's
Wow.
just over 2 years old.
If
Just
you would
over
have
2
told
years
me
old.
that this had 5 more years of age on it, I would have believed you.
But
Yeah.
you know,
That's how smooth and refined this is smoking.
I think there's something about the punch blend, the way that they construct punch, that if you think about the experience, especially Rooster has had with some of his punches that are only 6-7 years old,
How about mine that are 2
2
3
years
years
old.
old?
there is something
They're
about those
incredible.
blends that, and I don't know are you a huge fan of punch?
I love the short to punch. I like the punch.
See, I love the punch, not as much as Rooster,
I
but
love both cigars.
this is definitely in line with
Yeah.
how those perform. And I just think this is those cigars on steroids, and a little more.
This is an elevated experience.
Can I
I
just
agree.
say quickly on the punch? The thing for me, so I've had some aged ones from Rooster that have been spectacular. Exactly the flavor profile I would chase and expect. I've had some others that have like a much bolder flavor profile that are dramatically different. And so I just have a hard time with reconciling. Like, I don't feel like I always know what I'm going to get if I pursue a box of them, unless I buy an aged box that's just like the one I had from Rooster that I know is amazing. But for some of the newer ones, it's just the variations too significant for me to trust I'm always getting what I'd be looking for.
But also the last couple of years, I think, case in point, 19, 20, 21, 22 boxes are smoking great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, labeling this entire marca as a value brand, I think it's a mistake. I don't
Yeah.
agree with it.
I think this should be elevated.
I agree.
You know, Punch should be elevated. And like I said, this is the flagship of the marca, and
Yeah.
this should be a premier double Corona release.
Off the
I'm sorry,
charts.
I disagree.
I'm actually okay the way
Yes.
it is
Exactly.
Same here.
because the prices will
Yeah.
be double.
Prices
Will
are
be
still
double,
awful,
you know.
regardless of it being
No,
called
I mean,
a
listen
value
to the
brand
price.
or not.
No,
It's like 30
it's not.
bucks.
He just said this is a $30-something stick. This is a double Corona. This is a huge cigar. For 30-something bucks, that's a great value.
Yeah.
We smoke certain Davidoff cigars that are half the size that are $30-something. So
yeah.
this is one of the rare Cubans that I actually think we would call a good value in terms of what you're getting for what you're paying. So I hope they keep it like this, like Rooster said.
This
I'm-
fucking
I'm-
cigar sucks, man.
I'm totally okay with a value brand over delivering.
Oh, I
that's
agree
what,
with you on
That's what
that.
this is doing, and keep it that way.
Good point.
Totally.
Keep it in the value.
The other thing
section.
too that I want to say is, we're inside a Cuba recap episode right now, so it is important to note we've thrown a couple different prices around. Pagoda was able to, I think you guys saw some of these in Havana. They were like $25. That $10 swing is the premium that you're paying to get it inside the United States from a retailer, from a secondary seller or something like that. So there is a $10 swing. They're $25 in Havana from an LCDH. You might find them like that elsewhere, but most of the listeners on this podcast who find it from a legitimate source are going to be closer to 35 to 40
And
bucks.
we only saw it at Havana Libre on one of the lounges. We did not see this anywhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't see much anywhere else.
Yeah, there
this is
wasn't.
true.
There was hardly any stock.
Inventory was low everywhere.
Yeah.
Which I'll be honest, I was surprised by, just because it's not like we went after the festival when Havana's flooded and people are just buying stuff left and right. I would have thought the inventory would have been decent, but it was better in March after the festival, the
Yeah.
first time we went, than it was before it, us going in January.
The thing I've learned though is I do think that's actually in the next few weeks now, leading up to the Habanos Festival,
Mhm.
that's when they're going to make serious allocation happen inside Havana, because why let it sit in Havana and wait for a tourist to show up
Mhm.
if you can move it to PCC or Hunters and Franco or whoever, and it's sold almost the same day,
Yeah. O'Dallas at the Partagas shop said exactly that.
Yeah. So they're
waiting
going to start
for
loading
that,
up
and
soon.
they'll start to bring inventory in.
So, boys, let's talk about our pairing really quick before we go into some of our other lounge and LCDH experiences in Havana. Tonight, we're drinking the Glenlivet 14-year age single malt Scotch whiskey. This is the third from the Glenlivet offering we've done on the pod. We did the 12 and the 18, and I'm very excited. I've never had the 14 before. How is it?
I like it.
Oh, that's pretty good.
I like it.
I mean, I'm just going to say this is another one of those fortuitous pairings in that
Mhm.
Yes.
Rooster used the words "a value brand over delivering" to describe the cigar, and I think that's exactly how I would describe this Scotch. Glenlivet is the biggest producer of Scotch in all of Scotland. It's a value brand for the most part. This drinks like a premium spirit.
Absolutely. This is actually very, very good.
How much was a bottle?
So this was $68.
Yeah. 14-year age
For
Scotch.
14 year.
Under
Yeah.
$70.
Most 12 years are
That's
that
true.
price.
That's true.
So this is finished. A portion of the whiskey is finished in cognac casks.
Cognac.
Cognac, which we like. I think that for $68, this is a really delicious spirit.
It's awesome.
And I to your point, Senator, I think some of the other scotches that have like a very heavy sherry finish, I don't know how well they would have paired with this cigar tonight. They might have overpowered it a little. But I think for 14 years, this is really a nice match.
yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned other scotches with a heavy sherry finish. We love sherry, but the thing is, a word I would use to describe this Scotch is incredibly balanced, which is, I think, also very similar to the cigar. As much as we love sherry, there are so many scotches we have, and we're like, it's just a sherry bomb.
Yes.
And that can sometimes, unless you have a full cigar to hold up against it, it can take away from the flavor you're getting of the cigar. And I think this is just really flavorful, but so nicely balanced that
Very, very mellow.
you can, I would drink this with any cigar.
Yeah. Dare I say, there is a hint of like an orange peel. I'm not using the word citrus. Orange peel in this on the finish for
The
me. which
listener isn't dumb, though. They know that orange peel is citrus.
Well, I'm not saying the word. It finishes beautifully.
So let's talk about some of the flavor notes because I love doing this on the back of the box. The nose is supposed to have a sweet and fruity aroma followed by a subtle spice. Is that accurate? Let's give it a whiff.
No spice on the nose, but the fruity forward, yeah, on the nose.
On the palate, mouth-coating whiskey full of ripe poached pears, mandarins, there you go, bam,
Yeah, mandarin's there.
in syrup and chocolate-coated raisins. And the finish, sweet and delicious, a Glenlivet savor. What the fuck? That sentence doesn't make sense. Sweet and delicious, a Glenlivet savor. SAVOUR. What am I missing here?
Savoir.
Savoir? Is that a thing?
I don't know.
I'm done.
No,
you
no,
see
no.
how
Don't
quickly-
follow me
you see
down the
how
hole.
quickly I follow you.
Do we
Oh
love
my God.
savoir?
What a nightmare.
I love
So
you.
this is the cognac cask selection, selectively finished in cognac casks to give a rich and intense flavor. Very, very good. I love the presentation of the box. The purple, I think, is very cool. It definitely stands out when you're in the liquor store. You can
Mhm.
find this immediately, but a great, great scotch for $68.
Delicious pairing.
I'm glad we did it because I feel like the things that get attention from Glenlivet, the 12-year, because it's in every bar you can ever walk in, at least
And
in the
airplane.
States, and airplane. And the 18 is an outstanding premium spirit they make that we reviewed on the podcast. But I've never had the 14 until tonight.
Oh, same. And before the recording, you sent the list out. I was concerned that it may overpower this particular cigar. This entire marca, for me, I would rather have a great cup of coffee with any punch cigar than a scotch. But this is quite a pairing tonight. It's working perfectly.
All right, so let's get back to our Havana recap. We were in Havana last week. We're going to do 3 episodes on it this time. The first one tonight is our Havana recap. The second one in 2 weeks is going to be our recap of our trip to Vinales and some of the tobacco farms and what we learned out there. And third, and most prominently, will feature our 2-hour interview with Danilo Rodriguez, the production manager for Cohiba.
Highlight of the trip.
That
Highlight of the trip.
you're
I
not
mean,
gonna,
both, even Vinales and the time we spent with Danilo and recording there. I mean, it was incredible.
You're gonna have a lot of editing to do on that because I'm gonna keep talking. That was quite the night. Quite the night.
Yeah, it was amazing. We felt we were very, very lucky. So
Yeah.
that's something to look forward to. So in 2 weeks, like I said, Vinales recap. And then in 4 weeks, a month from today, will be our Danilo.
It's really a must for any listener who has the opportunity to make it to Cuba, must make a trip to Vinales.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, even if
It's a day trip, do it.
if it's a day trip, but even if you're not a big cigar person, it's so beautiful out there.
It is.
I mean, some of the photos I took, you guys saw that one photo. It looked like a painting.
Yeah.
We're just looking out at just like all these mountains back there and just how lush and green everything was. It's just stunning.
Yeah, this is part of the trip that I missed, and I'm kicking myself for missing it. The photos were spectacular, and everyone you were encountering in the photographs seemed very friendly and
Oh, they were.
just
Yeah, we had a wonderful time.
Yeah,
And
it seemed
you know what,
incredible.
Bam? And I'm excited for you to experience
I
this
can't wait.
with us, and also for the listener, is we learned so much about the process
Yeah.
because we were standing right there. Very similar to when we've recapped our time in the factories. It's going to be a great, great episode.
So much to see out there.
Yeah, so for the listener, tune in 2 weeks. We're going to do our full recap of Vinales. And like I said, in 4 weeks, you'll get to hear directly from Danilo with us. We did a 2-hour interview almost.
We were like
With
Tim
Danilo.
Russert asking all the hard-hitting questions.
We did. We did ask some hard questions.
It's true.
We
Yeah,
did.
and by the way, Danilo is the production manager at the El Laguido
Correct.
factory, Cohiba factory.
Right.
Yep. All right, so let's get back to our Havana recap. Back in downtown Havana, we mentioned the stock in the various shops that we saw was lacking. You know what wasn't lacking was our smoking experiences at those same exact shops, notably the amazing time we constantly have at the Partagas LCDH right downtown Old Havana, right next to the Floridita where Hemingway frequented. That is such an amazing experience every single
I'm shaking my head because it never gets old. It just never, ever gets old. You walk into that back room, you sit down in that beautiful chair. It's always a great experience.
I think there more than any place you can smoke in Havana, especially if you go there a few times, you frequent it. they treat you like family, and they are more hospitable than anywhere, period.
True.
That is true.
No
Yeah.
question.
You feel like you're walking into your house and sitting in your living room, and it's special. Like, man, it never
really
gets old.
is.
It's just special every time.
Yeah.
It is.
And our first day there, we walked in, we opened that lounge ourselves. Lights were off. We had it to ourselves.
It's great.
That is the nice thing, and no offense to the folks who go down there for the various festivals and week-long events where everybody kind of, runs to Havana to see their friends. Totally great, and we've all done it. But there was something special about being there at non-festival time where we really felt, I don't want to use the word VIP because it sounds kind of bougie, but we were able to spend quality time with the people that we wanted to spend time with at the shops, namely the folks who run it, like Renee, who runs Partagas, and some of the other folks we mentioned. And instead of spending 2 minutes or 5 minutes, we were able to spend hours,
Yeah.
learning from them and talking with them and sharing rum with them. It was really, really special.
It's interesting that when you walk in, everybody has this assigned chair of sorts. Like you go back to your own comfortable chair, but everybody just goes and sits in their little.
It's like when we
corner.
come here.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
when we come here. It's the
and
same
it's so
setup.
comfortable and
And
yeah.
how
it's
good
actually-
is the coffee at the
Oh,
party?
oh,
Oh,
yeah.
it's so good.
Outstanding.
Delicious.
Out-
Sony
Outstanding.
makes a great coffee.
Oh, yeah. She does.
And the other thing too that was nice, we were able to experience 15-year age Havana Club there
That
with
was
our
delicious.
cigars, which was unbelievable.
That was the first time I've had it. Have you had that before?
No, I don't think any of us had had
No,
it
we hadn't
before.
had it. Nope.
So good.
Renee was so generous and just
Oh.
came in and brought that bottle, and I think all of us were just blown away.
Gave us a big Renee pour.
Yeah.
Just kept the bottle up there.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And I
Right.
love he always, when he taps the bottle, he always throws some in the corner for those who've gone before us.
Yeah.
It's like he doesn't even think about it. He just whips
Yeah.
like a little half of
Even
a
if
shot.
it's a $250 bottle, and you're just sitting there like getting paid. I can't believe he just did that.
I'm going to start doing that in our club.
Do it with your own spirit.
Yeah.
Correct.
I
So-
love the guayaberas that they wear.
Oh,
That's
yeah, the red ones.
The men's linen shirts.
How
with
are
the-
you not
four-
wearing one
four
of those
pockets.
on a daily basis?
Oh, man.
You, of all people. Look at you. You're made for the guavera.
Because you know what? I actually have a couple of guayaberas. They're too long.
Ah.
I need like an untucked version.
You're
A little bit shorter.
Get a hemmed.
I know.
You're
know.
Mr. Garment Man.
I
Let's
know.
go.
I gave Gizmo one. I don't even know
did.
if he's ever worn it.
I have. I
short
wore it in
sleeves, though.
Havana.
You did?
Yes.
He threw it out.
I didn't see
I
it.
don't
It
throw
didn't have a
anything
hoodie on it.
Correct. No logo on it.
Look out for Lounge Lizards guayaberas coming.
Oh, we're going to do that at some point.
Now
Yeah,
you're
he
talking.
wore it with those Under
Yeah.
Armour shorts.
Custom embroidered Lounge Lizards logo on a guayabera shirt.
That is not a bad idea.
We got to do it. I love the idea. So, just a short walk away from the Partagas LCDH is a refound. Like we refound this place as a favorite. The second level at the Parque Central Hotel, which is a very, it's a high end, I guess you'd call it, European and Asian and worldwide, pretty much everybody but the U.S. tourist destination. And on the second level, you were able to smoke. And this time when we went, they not only replaced all the furniture and significantly improved the furniture, but they also put up like a glass partition.
Right.
So it feels like a proper lounge.
Correct.
And we had some really great experiences there this time.
Outstanding.
I'll just say, the first time we went there, I honestly hated it. It was my least favorite place to smoke in Havana. I thought the chairs were super uncomfortable. I thought it was just too warm in there. There was not great airflow. And
He's
the
too
AC.
picky.
He's too
He's
picky.
too
I
picky.
loved it. I
Right,
loved it.
Pagoda?
We started this conversation about the Partagas shop, which to me is the exact opposite. Like,
Mhm.
it's the perfect temperature in there. The chairs are comfortable. Like, I have no complaints when I'm there. Just in comparison, it paled in comparison. Like Gizmo said, this time, clearly they figured out these were problems. Those chairs, beautiful leather seats, high backs. I mean, you could nap in these chairs for hours and feel great. The glass partition helped because before it was open air with the entire hotel, and it's a huge atrium.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of heat, especially up on the second level compared to down below. That glass partition keeps the AC in that room, much more comfortable smoking experience, better
It's-
airflow.
It's also a bit quieter.
It
Yeah,
is.
it is.
cuts
You're not, yes, because
Yeah, it reduces the decibels from down below.
pretty much the lobby of the hotel is
Yeah.
right there. So that's everybody who's coming in with their luggage and coming off the street and
You hear
coming
it
in
all.
with their kids.
Yeah.
You hear it all. And now with the partition, it feels like a proper lounge
Right.
and the seating is just so much better
Outstanding.
than it was even a year ago. So that that's gone from the bottom of the list to now really close to the top of the list as far as our experience goes.
And
What-
great rum selection,
Great
great
rum.
prices.
Yes.
I
How
mean,
much
can you
was a
believe-
pour of the 15?
So that's what's wild. That 15-year Havana Club is like a $250 bottle. They had that for a single pour for
That's what
13 US
right,
dollars.
That's
Yeah.
right.
That's insane.
It's a great
Incredible.
pour.
Now you can also get a meal there. I saw a meal being delivered
Really?
to people that were sitting on the opposite side of the lounge. Pretty good experience.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
but
like that place.
Typically, the hotels don't really have good food.
No.
Yeah, you don't want to eat. If you're going to eat there, as a tourist, you definitely want to find privately owned restaurants. You know.
I mean, even in the highly acclaimed Hotel Manzana, which is the Kempinski,
Mm-hmm.
I heard that the food's not that great.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Speaking-
another great lounge.
Speaking of the Kempinski, the lounge there, the cigar lounge there, also improved. Somehow they found the air conditioning button and turned it on. And this year it was very, very comfortable and ended up being another great spot to smoke. And what's nice about that is the views of the Capitol and the park, because you're elevated. I think it's up 3 or 4 stories in that building. It's such an amazing place to smoke and see all these views. And traditionally, folks at night like to go up there and take pictures on the balcony with the big Capitol building behind them. It's a very common place to take a photo. But what did you guys think of Kempinski this time?
Definitely better than the first time. I mean, like you said, the first time was just too warm. The one thing that's a little odd about that place, so they have great hours. They're open late, where a lot of these shops close at like 3, 4, 5 o'clock. But it just always has felt dead in there. Like every time I've been in there, we're the only people in the entire place.
I don't mind.
That's not a bad thing.
And it's a merit, but also sometimes I don't know. I'm just
Like, you want to see more action. You want to see more people.
more
coming there.
action, or even I feel like when I walked in there, the lights are barely even on. You just feel like you're in a place that has closed, and they're maybe just staying open a little extra for you. But this
Yeah.
time I didn't get that feeling. I felt like it was properly lit. Like it just felt like a warm, inviting lounge, where I think the first time it just felt a little cold and like we maybe shouldn't be there at that time. So I think that also has definitely improved.
Yeah, they do have a beautiful rooftop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they have a beautiful pool area. They serve lunch and dinner up at the pool area, which is nice.
So I've yet to see that lounge as well. Do they have a humidor?
They do, but
Really?
no, they had nothing in it. They
It's
do have
empty.
a
Oh, it's
humidor, but
empty.
it's
Okay.
yeah.
empty.
Their selection is like the least out of all the lounges that
Mhm.
we went to.
It
But
did
it's a
feel
nice
a bit
spot.
sophisticated, yeah. It
Yeah,
looked like a sophisticated kind of place.
Photographs
Right.
look beautiful.
It is, and that's where the most famous sommelier in Cuba,
Ah.
Jesus Machine, he works there. They have a great rum selection, and he'll recommend different rums to pair with cigars.
And if you're a cigar guy like we are, or gal, and you're listening to this podcast and you have an opportunity to go to Havana, go meet Jesus Machine and just sit down and talk to him. Give him a cigar, have some rum with him, and he'll give you 2 hours of just immense education on cigars and spirits and pairings. And he's just a wealth of knowledge. And he's a great chat. It's
he's a
fun to hang
master,
with him.
Yeah.
master som.
Master Som both in wine and in cigars, which is,
Yeah.
I think he's the only one on the island that
That's
is
true.
both.
Here's a quick question. So the first time we went, we couldn't get up there.
Yeah, but you have to kind of know somebody to get up there because
So
they don't accept
It's
dollars.
a key detail. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's typical, right? The whole country's like that.
Okay.
It's all about who you know. So every time you go there, you're gonna make some contacts. You're gonna find some people who will give you
Wow.
access to the people. So.
You're a Cuban insider now.
Gizmo
You
is
see how he points?
Well, I'm pointing at him. He's directing to you.
So the final lounge that we should discuss that we frequent when we're in Havana is the second floor lounge at the Hotel Malia Cohiba, which is another nice spot. This time we didn't spend as much time there as we did in the past. I think because Parquet delivered and we were able to hang at Kempinski. But what did you guys think of Malia Cohiba this time?
Again, I never get tired of that place. It's really comfortable. It's bigger. Not as cozy as Partagas shop, but really
well, that
quite
back
nice.
room is really nice. It's
It
really
is.
quaint, and
Yeah.
for 4 to 5 people, it's perfect.
It is.
So maybe I have a slightly different take. Malia Cohiba, the first trip, was my favorite place to smoke, particularly the room Rooster's talking about. They have this little private room off to the side. You have just glass windows. You're looking out at the Malecon. It's beautiful. The other seating area, I mean, it's not nice. There's no other way to put it, right?
It's like there's lawn chairs.
Yeah.
It's wide open.
It feels totally out of place. If they just replaced that with like proper lounge furniture, that would make a huge difference. And I think the thing also now that I've come to realize, the ventilation in that private room is horrible.
Mhm.
There is none.
I mean, every time I walk out of that room and get back to our house, I reek of cigars. And I don't mind the smell of cigars, but it's like so bad in there that it's just too much. So I think the fact that like the Parque Central improved so much, that for me now is a much more ideal smoking experience where I'm not just limited to that one room at Malia Cohiba. And the first time we went there, in fact, the room was occupied and we couldn't get in there. And so we had to go to another place to smoke.
Right.
You kind of have to sit in there if you're going to enjoy yourself, where I like with Parque Central, any of the seats you take there, you're going to have a nice experience. Partagas, same thing.
And it's never
So,
crowded.
Yeah. So for me, now Malia Cohiba, someplace I would definitely return to,
Mhm.
but it's not at the top of my list like it was.
So would you say Partagas number 1, Parque Central number 2 this time around?
Yeah.
Amelia Cohiba 3.
Malia
Kempinski-
Cohiba might be the 4th.
I would
For
say
me,
Kempinski's
third
3.
is Kempinski and 4th is Malia Cohiba.
Yeah. I do.
And the
Right.
the place that we should note that we completely wrote off, we didn't even visit it once this trip,
The Cohiba
is
atmosphere.
Cohiba Atmosphere in
Yeah.
the really, really fancy
Eh,
mall area, I
yeah.
guess.
It's too
Horrible.
If you want to, if you could imagine sitting in a American shopping mall on a bench, effectively smoking a cigar, that's what it feels like in there.
Yeah.
It's actually, you can, when you look down from Kempinski, you could see
Right.
Cohiba Atmosphere
Mhm.
right from the elevator.
And when
Really?
Giz sits on a couch there, he looks like a toddler.
Yeah.
It's true.
You make me
His-
sound
I
like
remember that.
like
His
a
feet don't
short
touch the
person.
floor. I mean, it was comical. These couches were massive.
I think Shaquille O'Neal would feel short on those
Right.
couches. So, boys, we're just around the halfway mark, maybe past it here on the Punch Double Corona. Every single draw for me has been nothing short of fantastic.
Agreed.
What is everybody else's
I
experience?
don't know, it's just delicious, nutty, a little bit of spice, and I don't know. It's complete. It's a punch DNA.
The retro hail for me brings out the sweetness in the cigar.
Just overall a very consistent experience. Like, it's not one of those cigars which has developed into something new or different. It's been a very reasonable, excellent experience throughout, and the combustion, I must say, has been fantastic for me.
Yeah, I think Giz mentioned every puff just being spectacular. Even cigars that I love a lot, that I smoke regularly, I don't know that there are many cigars that every puff I'm sitting there saying, wow, this is unbelievable. It's most of the cigar is unbelievable. And there are some moments in it that I'm losing a little bit of the flavor and then it comes back or whatever the case is. Truly with this, there's not a singular complaint I have so far. It's perfect.
Excellent.
Not tonight.
You know what I love too is that none of us have picked up our lighter to
Mm-mm.
retouch this thing.
That's
not
true.
Not at all.
none of the 5 of us have
That is-
touched our lighter, and we're almost an hour into this episode.
Very true.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, boys, Rooster mentioned food not being great at some of the hotel places, the government owned or the government run places. But we had some incredible meals at some of the most fantastic restaurants, not only in Havana, but for me, take the nostalgia out of it or the feeling that we talked about of kind of feeling home. Some of these meals that we're able to get in Havana are just top tier, compare with almost anything that I've had anywhere in the world. There is really some amazing food in Havana.
Ropa Vieja. Wow.
So, Bam, of course, we'll start with our new favorites, Cinco Sentidos, over near the Partagas shop in Parque Central, little restaurant that is an absolute gem.
Mhm.
And we kind of got obsessed with it. I think we went there like
3 straight nights.
3 straight nights.
And
Our
had the-
first 3 nights.
And had the same dish every night.
Yeah,
every
we
night.
all had Ropa Vieja every night.
It's the best Ropa Vieja in Havana, period. I mean, we've had it at a number of different restaurants. Nowhere even comes close. The presentation alone looks like something out of a Michelin star restaurant. Stunning. The food, the flavor, everything's balanced. Like we were talking about the Ropa Vieja, it's like savory and a little sweet. Like everything was perfect. I mean, I'm not a big dessert guy. I never order dessert at a restaurant, usually when I'm with other people, they feel differently, and everybody gets dessert.
Pagoda.
Big dessert guy. And at that place, I mean, I
He's
took
shaking his head in
He's
disagreement.
irritated.
No, not at all.
I took a spoon full of anyone's dessert, and everything was incredible.
Yeah.
That lemon cream thing that you got,
Yeah.
unbelievable.
That was excellent, by
Wasn't
the way.
that great? And it was light too. Like after
Very
the Ropa
light, yeah.
Vieja, which is significant, and it sits in your stomach. Like there's a lot of food there, especially if you get rice and beans with it. I mean, it's so perfectly prepared. Everything.
The Tostones there.
The Tostones. I had 2 orders myself.
You were obsessed.
Giz was out of control with the
He
Tostones.
was.
I mean, that's just the best thing in
The
the world.
look on the waitress's face when I had to say we want like 8 orders of Tostones for 5 of us sitting there. I mean, she thought we were insane.
Estupido Americanos.
It was that is a really, really special place. And like you said, I mean, if there's anybody out there who knows anybody who works at the Michelin rating place, send them to Havana. This place should have at least 1 Michelin star.
Agreed.
It is some of the best food I've ever had anywhere in the world. And to walk out of there for the 5 of us, and the bill is what? $180, $200 total?
It's ridiculous.
I mean,
Insane.
that
That's
meal
just-
in New York would be 5 or 6 or
Yeah.
7 times
It's
that.
amazing.
The other thing we'd be remiss without mentioning, the service there
Impeccable.
is incredible. I mean, every little detail, like we've talked about, obviously, I think stemware is important, and they've got, they're so, I mean, even the water, I mean, we were laughing. Giz didn't want to drink his water out of the bottle.
Listen,
but
it's like they were putting my water in like a fish bowl. It was so big.
I'd call it more of a chalice, or it was very elegant, but just every little detail, like from the stemware they chose for each, whether it's water, wine, whatever you're drinking, to, my goodness, like they bring in like a little amuse for the table, compliments of the chef. And then they literally, and it's in a tiny little shot glass. It's a gazpacho that we just
Right.
basically put back in the shot
Delicious.
glass.
Delicious.
None of us used any silverware for it.
No.
And then they collect the shot glasses. They take all the silverware off the table that we haven't even used, but it's unthinkable for them to
'Cause
have the
it's 'cause
same
we
silverware
looked
per
at it.
course.
They're tainted.
It's very unlike here, where they tell you,
Oh,
"Can
yeah.
you please keep the fork?"
Yeah.
Like, no, I
Off your
I
plate.
put the fucking fork on the plate so you can take it.
Tranquilo, Rooster, tranquilo.
I mean, my God, it annoys the shit out of me.
Wow.
Isn't that annoying?
It is annoying.
Like you want the
Correct.
dirty
That's
fork
true.
taken away.
Right.
Take it away. They take it and they put it on the dirty table.
It's true. We're here. We have clean forks and knives, but the thought of like bringing a second course without fresh silverware, I just
Right.
couldn't believe at every stage. I remember someone at some point, their napkin fell on the floor. This woman darts over, grabs the napkin, doesn't let the person pick it up,
Right.
brings a new fresh napkin immediately. I mean, things you would literally only see at like a 5-star Michelin star restaurant. Unbelievable. there.
Attention to detail. The way they clean the crumbs from your table.
Yeah.
The way they wipe down the table in between courses. I
Yep.
mean, it's incredible.
The interiors of the restaurant's beautiful as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
they did a
well done.
Really nice job. of it.
Beautifully
Yeah.
appointed space.
And I like too that you can see the kitchen from all angles. If
Yeah.
you're on the first floor, if you go up the stairs and you sit on the second floor, you always have a view what's going on in the kitchen, and
Right.
they're so precise.
Mhm.
Even when you watch them, we were on the second floor, so we kind of had an overhang. We could see directly down into the kitchen. The way they were dressing the plates for the Ropa Vieja,
Very delicately.
very delicately, like an artist. Like this guy was so meticulous about where he was placing every aspect of that decorative, plating that they were doing. Again, it should have a Michelin star, that place.
Yeah.
No question about it.
Truly dispels the myth of where can I eat when I go to Cuba?
Yeah. Anybody who's worried about finding good food in Cuba,
Yeah.
especially as an American
Oh,
or a
yeah.
European or anywhere,
yeah.
anyone who's not living in Havana, you will find good food there.
Correct.
Yeah, we're gonna start guided tours, by the way. So
Yeah, keep a lookout.
we'd like
The
a poll.
official lizard tour.
So right down the street from Five Sentidos is a comparable experience as far as the food goes for me. Cha Cha Cha.
Cha cha cha.
What a restaurant.
Love that
So
spot.
this place is right across the street, literally from the Museum of the Revolution, where you're literally sitting having dinner and you can see the grandma boat that Che Guevara and Fidel Castro, began the revolution on. The food in this place is another
Mhm.
absolute stunner.
Best beans.
The beans are amazing.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
agreed.
Amazing beans.
From the point of view of ambiance, probably a step down from the elegance of
I agree.
Yeah, but more modern.
Cinco Sentinos.
More
Cinco Centenos,
loungy.
but still a lot of fun and beautifully done. Very cool space.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really cool space, and I'll never forget the first time we walked in there in March, and it hits you every time you're in there. It looks like a place that could be in like Brooklyn.
Yeah, it's true.
There's like exposed brick. It's
Yeah.
super trendy.
Yep.
It just defies every expectation you have visiting Havana for the first time.
The wine bottles above you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
held
Ceiling.
within the flanges
Yep.
of the steel beam above.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
It's a cool spot.
It is.
The other thing there that's great is the service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Service is excellent.
I
Well,
mean, we had people that waited on us in March immediately come up. The first time we went in there, shake our hand. I mean, they don't forget. That's when we talk about it's like home, and it's just like these people become family. It was just so fun to walk in there, and I couldn't believe they remembered us from a year ago.
And what
There's
I
a
love,
There's a reason for that.
yeah,
Lizards leave an impression.
what I love about that, going back to what we discussed when we first, started discussing this in the episode, is what I love about that is unlike in the United States when someone says, "Hey, good to see you again," I believe them in Havana.
Yep, that's
I
right.
don't believe folks when they say it here.
Yeah.
Like in Havana, like I know when George, the host
Yep.
at that place,
Oh yeah.
this well dressed, like dapper dressed host of this restaurant. He's in charge of reservations and seating and vibe, and he's like the maitre d' of this restaurant. And this guy looks you in the eye and he says, "It's good to see you again," and I believe him.
And gives
Because-
you a hug.
Yeah, it gives you a
Yeah.
hug. Like we haven't seen him in what 10 months or
Well,
11
They
months,
truly appreciate the business, right?
and they do. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But they are very in the moment. So let's talk about a negative, boys. One of the tourist hotspots.
Don't make us angry. This cigar is too good right now.
Correct.
Unfortunately, we had a horrendous experience, and it's probably my second one now. So I'm writing this place off completely. Is the Tourist Trap apparently formerly, in my eyes, the best restaurant in Havana, La Guarita.
hmm
What a horrendous meal experience we had there.
Yeah.
It was straight out of a sitcom. It didn't feel real, honestly. I mean, everything that could go wrong went wrong there.
From top to bottom.
Yep.
Every single thing.
I can't deny it.
Yeah, it was not good.
Yeah.
Plus it rained. We were sitting outside. Beautiful. I mean, the setting is nice.
It's a
that
beautiful
outdoor spot is
Yeah,
nice.
that
It's
the
beautiful.
deck is quite beautiful.
Yeah. So I got there at least 20 minutes before you guys did, right? I was sitting alone at the table. Not a single waiter or a waitress came by me to even offer a glass of water.
Wow.
Mm,
Wow.
That's insane.
yeah.
And that perfectly sums up our evening.
Yep.
Well, what was it? 2 hours
We arrived
to get a meal there?
So Rooster was a little early. We were on time. We arrived at 7:00. There was a little bit of a rain issue. We moved pretty quickly in 5 minutes. I think that frazzled everybody in the restaurants for some reason. We moved to another table.
I'm sorry. Before we moved, it was the same thing. I had ordered a bottle of wine for the table before we moved. We were out there for probably 15, 20 minutes. No wine, no water,
Nothing.
nothing on the
No,
table.
he's right. He's right.
It was a disaster even before the rain.
Yeah.
I mean, even now, we're talking about 4 years since COVID. You still have to go through the QR code, and you have issues with data and the
Oh,
internet,
this
and
is
it doesn't
stupidity.
load up.
Yeah, so what Rooster's
Just-
referring to is they don't have physical menus. So they put this QR code on the table that you can only access by connecting to their Wi-Fi, but their Wi-Fi doesn't have any internet access. It's only for the menu. So your phone says, well, there's no internet, so I'm going to ignore this. It's like you need to be like a tech wizard
Yeah.
to access their menu. It's crazy.
That
whole
was the
setup.
case the very first time we went as well. I mean, we kind of overlooked that because it was our first time there.
Yeah, but it's a year. Bam, you and I were there in
Nothing
November
changed.
22.
I know.
It's a year and a half ago.
Right.
almost.
You're telling
know.
me that years
I
ago
know.
they didn't have printed menus? Of course they did.
course
No
they
one was
did.
using QR codes. Why they're still using this when
Yeah.
it doesn't even work in
It's
there
true.
Right.
is just ridiculous.
Make it easy. Every
Yeah.
single restaurant had a printed menu.
Everywhere.
What's the big deal?
And by the way, Guarita's not changing the menu. Nothing changed since we were there.
No,
it's all the
that's-
same.
That's true too.
So there's
Yeah.
no
It's-
reason.
It's the same, just they don't have half the stuff even that they did when we were there the last time.
Yeah. So we moved our tables. We sat down and we ordered, which was chaotic because they are intent. They're one of these restaurants that are intent on not writing anything down, which is always scary to me, especially when you have a party of 5 or 7 or whatever people. That something's going to get messed up. And we ended up sitting there for almost 2 hours before our food was served.
Right.
We had a huge order, and this clown is sitting there pretending that he's remembering everything that we're saying. And so I asked him, I said, how many orders of this? How many orders of that? Every single time I asked him, he got it wrong. And then finally, we're waiting and waiting probably an hour, into this. And he comes over with this like phone or iPad to me. And he's like, I just want to confirm. Why are you confirming, first of all, the order an hour after we've placed it, right? You should have done that from the start. And he holds in front of me and it's still incorrect. It's like we're trying to change things on the fly as the food's probably already being prepared.
Yeah.
It was just a nightmare. They opened a bottle of wine, spilled wine on Bam's shirt.
Oh, that's right. I forgot
totally
about
forgot
that.
I didn't want to remember that.
I mean, it was amateur hour the whole time.
So by the way, so this is I don't want to use, what would you call this guy? What was his role there?
He was a white. He was a Som.
Som.
Was he a Som?
He was
Okay.
a Som, really?
So the Som is walking around the table, refilling our wine glasses, and spills wine on Bam's shirt while refilling Bam's wine.
So here's what really happened. So when you pour a glass of wine, you should clean the underside of the bottle because you've got always that drip capillary action continues to go down. Just wipe and put it down.
He was holding a towel. I don't know.
He didn't do that. So what happened? It dripped. It caught
He
on
wiped
the
it-
edge of my glass and it went down to the bottom flange and it just hung out there.
Man.
So when, of course, when you pick it up and you turn to drink it, it drips on your chest. That's what happened.
Right.
Awful.
I thought he wiped it on his shirt.
It's poor practice. Yeah, right. He went like this with his hand.
And the problem with this experience, again, is this is not like some casual random restaurant in Havana. This is regarded as like the nicest restaurant in Havana.
This is true.
We were sitting next to pictures of celebrities who've been there. I literally looked over, like I'm looking at this light switch that's 3 feet from me, and I saw a picture of Derek Jeter,
That's right.
having visited the restaurant. Like, this
Right.
is not a hole-in-the-wall place. This is a place who charges New York prices
Mhm.
for Havana food experiences.
Yeah.
And it was some of the worst of the Havana experiences that we had food-wise. It was
Yeah.
really, really not good.
and the quality of food has gone down.
Well, I was
It
going to
has,
ask you,
dramatically.
how was your lobster, Senator?
The
It looked
lobster,
incredible.
the lobster is the one thing there that's actually excellent. Their lobster tail, flawless. But everything else, the steaks,
I enjoyed it. I can't say that I hated the steak.
I
Mine was
heard some
good.
low scores
Yeah,
for the steak.
Yeah.
I don't think it wasn't worth the price.
No,
It was very edible. It
Yeah,
was,
it was
fine,
fine.
but it wasn't great.
no.
It wasn't great.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I wouldn't want to go back there because there are
Yeah.
now so many options. now
Everything.
in
I mean,
Cuba.
like some of these appetizers, they have this thing they call like fish tacos, and you're thinking it's going to be like some kind of fresh, like raw fish or something.
It was
It's
tuna
literally
fish.
tuna fish on a fucking taco.
I intentionally stayed away from that.
And, again, if that's what most of Cuba and Havana was like,
Yeah.
I would understand, but
Mhm.
that's not it. The food scene in Havana is serious. You get outstanding food there. There's no restaurant that's putting tuna fish on a taco and charging like $25 for it.
Yeah.
And I think the thing to double down on what you're saying, Senator, that's really important to note is this is not Americans rolling into Havana having unreasonable expectations. This is us rolling into a restaurant that charges New York prices,
And we've been there 3 times.
and we've been there. I've been there 4 times
Okay.
now, and the expectation is what they set.
Right.
It's not what we set.
And for context for the listener, any restaurant that we ate in and had an amazing meal, for 5 of us, we never spent over $200 total. At La Garita, our bill was $800.
yeah.
That's outrageous.
Yeah.
That's right. $160 a person
Obscene.
for horrible service.
True.
4 times what we paid anywhere else, and the experience was awful.
Very true.
Our meal at Cha 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 was $55 a guy,
And that is an incredible
Including alcohol.
experience.
including
there.
alcohol. And that was,
Wow.
Senator was ordering this fantastic wine that we found in there.
Oh, yeah.
That we're going to do on the podcast at some point in the future, maybe on the Vinales episode. But
Nice.
I mean, it's just it really, really stood out like a sore thumb. And for me, I've completely written off Guarita.
And the last thing I'll say, when you have a bad restaurant experience, the times that I have an easier time overlooking it is when the staff is really great and apologetic and does everything they can to try to improve it. The staff was rude. Straight up
downright
rude.
rude. Yes,
Yes.
100%.
Wow.
I mean, spoke to us as if we were complete morons and didn't even know the English language, let alone Spanish, which is silly. I just, in every way, it was unlike any experience we had at other restaurants in Havana.
Yeah.
For a fifth of the price.
That's right.
Can Garcon pass the bottle?
I need some more Glenlivet. This is excellent.
Oh yeah.
Excellent single malt scotch.
Oh yeah. I'm very pleased.
And it's odd. When you see we drink so many 12s.
Yeah.
So when you see a 14-year age statement, and we had the Glenlivet 12.
Yeah, it's unusual to see this age
and
statement.
we'll do the number. I don't remember what the rating was when we did it. I usually save that for the end of the episode to not taint it, but I think it performed okay. I know the 18 performed very well, but this with just 2 more years and the finish in the cognac casks, I think is a really, really excellent spirit for $68.
It's outstanding.
All right, boys. So let's move on from food. The other thing I found to be improved on this trip was the cell phone and power reliability, which, for me on previous trips was a little bit of a nervous situation where I was like unsure of how reliable the LTE network would be, how reliable the cell phones would be, and certainly how reliable the power would be. Are you going to be getting ready for dinner and all of a sudden the power goes out, it's not available, and it's a problem. It's like it was way better this time.
Yeah.
The LTE network, the stuff that keeps Gizmo up at night.
It's
I
true.
love it.
Listen, that's important. Say, you want to stay connected. It's as if we got on a plane and
I
went
got
to
to
Mars.
connect in the morning. I need the equipment. Where am I going to put it? What am I going to do? His head starts to glow. It turns blue.
Hey, the podcast needs to come out every Tuesday, even when we're in Havana, boys.
Correct.
So, I found it to be a major thing. And I know that for a lot of listeners, that is a question I get a lot is how reliable is the cell phone network? Can I stay connected? Can I talk to my family, my friends, and my work situation when you're in Havana? I found it to be very, very reliable this time.
Yeah.
I agree. It was much better.
And our very first time there, we had fears of blackouts, losing power.
And we did lose power.
We did.
Yeah. Not very frequently, though.
But this time we didn't lose it at all. It
Not
was
at
very
all.
reliable.
That's
and I
right.
didn't hear of any outages when we were there. So I don't know
Same.
if that's an improvement or
Yeah.
time of year. I don't know, but it was much, much better this time. And the thing I'll say for the listeners too that's really, really important to note, crucial to note, is if you do not have a phone with a SIM card, meaning iPhone 14, 15, and above.
A
So
physical SIM card.
physical SIM card. Cuba does not support eSIM.
Yeah, you're not communicating with
You're not
anyone.
communicating.
Yeah,
It's
you're-
over.
You're dead.
It's over.
Yeah.
So if you don't have an iPhone 13 or earlier in your possession and you go to Cuba, you will not be able to use your cell phone. They do
Yeah.
not have eSIM technology. You need to have a physical SIM tray in your device. So
Yeah.
if that means you go on Facebook Marketplace
Sure.
or eBay and buy a phone,
Critical
Do that.
travel
critical.
tip. Yep.
You will not be able to use your phone. And the other thing I'll say for listeners too, and we did discuss this, I think, on a previous episode when we recapped this, you got to make sure you go there with a VPN downloaded so you can use that to protect your internet traffic and access it as if you're in the US. And you have to make sure all your apps are downloaded because if they're not,
Yeah.
as soon as you hit Cuba, the App Store knows it. Apple will not let you transact even for free apps on the App Store. And I think it's the same for Google. So you got to be very, very careful about that.
Great points.
So, boys, we're into close to the last third here on the cigar. I'm just bringing this up because I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But
you
I'm
and
f-
I are close.
Yeah.
I'm a little ahead of you.
I'm finding where it's getting now that we're past the halfway point, it's picked up just a little bit, probably because we've been smoking it for well over an hour. But this is really giving me a unique experience in that, first off, we're an hour 15, hour 18 into this episode, and we still got a lot of time left on this cigar.
We do.
So it's smoking slowly, which is nice.
Yeah.
And second, every single draw is just impeccable.
It has picked up in a white pepper. It's not abrasive in any way. And the retrohale has also changed where I was getting fruity notes all the way down to the final third. The moment you pass that line, it gets, for me, nuttier and a little peppery, which I do happen to love.
Yeah, I think the final third is now medium full.
Yeah,
It's
agreed.
picked up a little bit in
Yeah.
strength in
Yeah.
a nice way.
Mhm.
And
But in a really nice way. Yeah.
I'm loving it.
Pagoda, how about you?
Pretty much the same. I still get a little bit of I would say like the dried fruit saltiness. It's very slight for me.
That's accurate.
Meaning overall very very good.
So while you were talking, Pagoda, I actually just did a preemptive second cut just to prevent any sort of tar blast, which, I mean, we're an hour and 15, 18 something in. just to prevent as we get into the, deep into the last third, I don't want any tar blast because we've been smoking this for a while. So I'm going to do a preventative
Okay.
cut
Smart.
so I don't get blasted.
You may be jumping the gun, Giz.
Yeah.
Well, it's just a little bit. I
You
have,
may be re-entering the land of the gizmo cut.
no, it's very little bit, very little.
The combustion's been great there.
Oh,
and the
yeah.
ash, if you look at the ash,
Beautiful.
I'm sure like I've been, dropping the ash every couple of inches, but I'm sure that if I let it smoke,
Yeah.
it would stay.
It's, quintessential Cuban ash, marbled grays and whites. Very
It's a
nice.
well rolled cigar.
Oh, yeah.
Must say.
Rooster, how's your flavor wise? Coming down into the. I guess you're just a little bit past halfway, coming in the last third.
Yeah, I'm also getting a little bit of cedar. I don't know if anybody else is, but a little bit of cedar at the.
I've been getting cedar the whole way through,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah.
It kind of comes in and out as like prominent.
Mm.
It goes from prominent to the background, but it's definitely there.
Still so enjoyable.
It has picked up in strength, though.
Yeah.
I
It has, a
must
little
say.
bit.
Yeah,
But in a nice way, like
Nice
not
way.
in a
Yeah,
harsh
yeah.
way.
No, it's not overpowering.
Yeah.
This is great there. This is what I like in a cigar.
Mm-hmm.
So, boys, another big question that we get from listeners, and I almost feel, having experienced it like we have, I almost feel silly asking this, but I think it's really, really important. And that is the number one question I get asked on the email, and it's probably 50% of the emails we get about traveling to Havana is Havana safe for me to travel to? And, before I throw my opinion out, I'd like to hear from you guys. What do you feel about the safety when you go to Havana?
Well, it depends on who you are. I'm just kidding.
When Pagoda walks down the street, the crowd parts. It's just okay.
No, but I'll tell you, it is one of the safest places I've been to, and we all travel a lot, and very easy to travel. They're very respectful and friendly people. You can get anywhere. Whether you're taking a cab or walk-in, feels very, very safe. Although Rooster and I did have an interesting experience in a cab where he avoided a traffic cop and backed out and then drove away from him.
He was,
that's
he was
right.
driving like a maniac
Maniac,
to begin
yeah.
with.
Yeah.
And, he was stopped at a light. A cop comes and pulls right in front of the taxi cab. He's on like some sort of a scooter.
Scooter,
And he's
moped.
like inches away from the cab. And we're like, what is going on? So we're like, oh, he was obviously speeding. So he got pulled over. The cop kind of puts the thing on a kickstand and he gets up and he's walking around. And this guy decides to not engage with the cop, backs up and takes off.
But
With you guys in the back seat.
With us in the back seat.
so for a moment there, we looked at each other. We said, "Oh my Lord, we're in for a ride." We were
So that was just for a brief moment,
Yeah.
but everything was fine.
fine.
Yeah. I was jonesing for a walk the entire time. And you were at Milia Cohiba, Rooster.
No, I was at Kempinski and I walked to La Gorida.
Yeah. And I walked from our
Oh, we went to Melia Cohiba. We walked.
So
yeah.
from our house to Milia Cohiba, it was like 6 or 7 blocks. I was alone. I felt perfectly safe.
Yeah.
That was like at 2:30 in the afternoon.
it was.
I'm sure you'd be safe.
Yeah. But I loved it. I enjoyed the walks there, the strolling, even at night. And then we go to a short walk to get our taxi, but it feels great.
I
Not an
think for
issue.
me, very simply, walk, no walk, it's incredibly safe there. Like I have never once worried about my safety or
Mhm.
anybody else's safety there.
Agreed.
They tell you that they do not mess with tourists at all, and it holds. I mean, the first time I went there, I was very cautious. Certain, a watch that I might normally wear, I didn't bring there. Just certain things like that. You can wear a Rolex in Havana. You don't have to even think twice. You don't have to worry. It's just culturally different. And the reality also, I mean, why the crime is not rampant there. I mean, there's no gun ownership there. There's not much drugs that make it around Cuba. And so, it's a relatively safe and harmonious environment.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell people that ask in my personal life, I feel safer anywhere in Havana, Cuba, or in Cuba, period, than I do in Manhattan.
Yeah.
I just
Agreed.
feel safe. I don't even think about it. I know that those people are not going to mess with me because the consequences, if they do for them,
Are drastic.
are drastic. And obviously that's a penalty situation. But like you said, culturally, Senator, culturally, it's just not in their DNA to mess with tourists. They're so happy we're there. And even when you walk down the street in Obispo, as you're talking about, and someone's coming up to you, hey, do you want cigars? Hey, do you want rum? Hey, do you want this? Hey, do you want that? And you just say no. They go, hey, man, good to see you.
Have a
Where
nice
you
day.
from? Have a great day.
They're
Are you
very
from
polite.
New York? And
Very
once you tell
polite.
them you're from New York or the U.S., like they light up like a Christmas tree, even though you're not transacting with them. They're just so happy that you're in Havana. I have never, in all my time there, I've been there several times now, I have never had a moment where I felt unsafe.
And
Not one.
totally agreed
Same.
because they don't
Yeah.
even follow you.
No.
So they'll come, and once you say no, they back off.
They're
It's
done.
really
No.
interesting.
It
To
is.
Gizmo's point, you walk down the street in Manhattan and some guy, is haggling to try to sell something. They'll follow you for like 3-5 blocks.
Oh yeah.
Not in Havana.
Yeah, and even like my stepdaughter and my wife, when they're going to Manhattan to see a show or do something, I'm always like trying to escort them in and be around them and make sure they're okay because I don't trust my stepdaughter walking around Penn Station going to the train like I do if she was in Havana with me. It's a totally different world. So for any of the listeners out there who are thinking about going to Havana, safety is not something to worry about. If you're smart, you're good, and you're not going to have any problems in Havana.
Just take a lot of cash. That's all.
Yeah, well, you have to take cash because
Sure.
obviously you can't transact in credit card or debit. But
As an American.
as an
Mhm.
American, yeah, obviously if you're European or somewhere outside the U.S., you can. But you're totally safe. So, boys, one exciting thing that happened in Havana when we were there is our friend Rooster here had a birthday.
Ah.
And we celebrated. We had a great night. We went to Cha Cha Cha. We had dinner. And then we all went to the Tropicana show, as we detailed on a previous episode, which is arguably for me one of the best entertainment experiences I've ever seen in the world.
Yeah.
Music, Broadway, concerts, anything. It is unlike anything else. It is so great.
We
And
went there twice.
We went, yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Regardless,
This
of
is
how-
our second time there.
It's always a different show.
Yeah.
It's always
You-
changing.
It
No, I mean,
never
on,
gets
on
old.
this trip, we went to Tropicana twice,
Ah.
but watched the show once.
That's right. So
Oh,
we
yeah.
went there the La Guarita night, and it had rained, and they had moved because it rained. So the Tropicana show normally is in a big outdoor amphitheater. So if it rains, obviously everything gets wet. So we didn't know this. They moved it inside into the salon, they call it, which I think is probably about a fifth of the size. So we walked in there, and they're seating us, and I was like, no way. Went back out, got our money back, bought tickets for Thursday. A few days later, we went back, had the experience in the big room for Rooster's birthday, and it was as spectacular as it
It's
was,
awesome.
the
Yeah.
That was a
previous
great
times I've
night.
been there.
That's
Great
incredible.
night.
And
Incredible.
there's nothing like watching amazing entertainment,
Mm-hmm.
sitting there, and they're bringing Havana Club rum, and you're sitting there with a cigar in your hand.
That's the operative
I
thing.
mean-
the cigar is really what
That's
makes
right.
it. I mean,
sure.
you can see shows plenty of places in the States and you can have a drink and enjoy yourself. But the fact that you're sitting there smoking a cigar throughout the entire duration of that show, there's nothing like it. There's nowhere else that you can do that.
It's Cuba.
Yeah.
And it's a
I mean,
world class production.
I
It
couldn't-
is.
Sure it is.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't have asked for a better birthday. I mean,
Absolutely
it,
not.
It was fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Being in Cuba, having a great meal at Cha Cha Cha, followed by Tropicana. I mean, what else can you ask for?
Nothing.
It's true.
And
And-
Gizmo gave me a Cohiba Robusta from 2014.
Love 14.
My
Oh.
favorite
Ho, ho,
year.
ho.
I mean, it was fantastic.
How was that cigar?
The whole day was great.
Co-row, baby.
Co-row from 14.
Cigar was okay.
Let me guess. You need another one to make sure. So
Yeah, everything was great.
And what we did was we did get a gift for you
Mm.
in Cuba for you
There
for
we
your
go.
birthday.
Yeah.
We couldn't hand it out on the same day for different reasons.
we wanted to do it on the podcast.
But
of
here it
course.
is.
So we have a gift for Rooster. Pagoda procured this, of course.
Passing it down.
So I'm really excited for him to see this.
It's even in the La Corona bag.
It's in a La Corona bag that I was gifted at La Corona.
Incredible.
I can't wait for him to see this. This is exciting.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful ashtray. I see.
It's a Kai Dorsey ashtray.
Now, don't throw it at anybody.
Can you tell the people what you're opening? who are not here with us.
It's a yellow box, and it's got a big Z on it. That could only mean one thing. The box says Zeno on it.
Your favorite cigar.
Oh yeah.
Oh man,
The
it's
a-
big.
It's an ashtray. It's a Z. The whole ashtray is a Z.
It's a big, like, you know,
Incredible.
Caterpillar, like the construction equipment.
That's true.
It's that yellow.
Yeah.
And it's a Z for Zeno, which is obviously, as you remember from previous episodes, when
This is
Pagoda
great.
and Puba pranked him.
Actually, I love this ashtray.
Yeah, it's
great.
very cool.
And you love that cigar.
Yeah, I do.
The Kaidorse 50 ashtray.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy birthday, Rooster.
Happy
Thank
birthday,
you, guys.
Rooster.
Thank you very much.
But seriously, we had a really, really great time celebrating your birthday in Havana. And I told you this then, and I'll tell you this now. I am incredibly envious that I have not yet had a birthday experience.
Zeno?
Zeno. A birthday experience in Havana, because it really
Yeah, it's true.
was fun, man. We had a great night with you.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was great. I could not have spent it with better friends and company, and the whole day was incredible. I mean, I'm not big into celebrations or birthdays, and I don't like the whole pompous, the whole show thing. But it was well done, and it was just a great, great, great day. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart,
Yeah, we were happy to be there, man.
and thank you for this wonderful gift.
Big Zeno guy. You know, the other thing I will say, and I don't mean to take away from your birthday, I was a little disappointed. So at the end of the Tropicana show, when the show proper ends, they have a big cumpleaños celebration for the birthdays. And our friend here, Rooster, would not get up and go on the stage
Unbelievable.
and dance around for his birthday. I was a little bummed out about
Major
it.
downer.
Would you? Wait a minute. Would you have?
Absolutely not. But we're talking about you.
I don't think any of you guys would have, except Pagoda.
Pagoda.
Pagoda would have done it.
would have
Oh,
been
yeah.
on
Pagoda
the
would have done
stage. Pagoda would have got on the stage even if it wasn't his birthday.
That's true.
It would depend on the amount of drinks I would have had by then.
So anybody going to Havana, we said this a year ago. We're going to say it again. You got to see the Tropicana show when you go to Havana. It is unlike anything else. A fantastic night. And of course, if someone in your party, somebody you're with is celebrating a birthday, it makes it that much more special. Because what's nice is when you buy one of the better tickets, I think the most expensive ticket's like $100, but you get every table, gets a bottle of rum, and those tables are 4 people. So with us, we were able to get 2 bottles of rum because there were 5 of us. It was absolutely fantastic. Of course, we took the rest of ours home. I tried to grab one from the table behind me. I got stopped by the guy who was running the section.
There you
He
go.
was not into that, but it was just a fantastic night, And then, boys, there's nothing better than drinking rum and having cigars in Havana, Cuba.
Correct.
It's true.
So let's talk about that. So some of the rum that we had, we had some Havana Club 15. We had Pacto Navio, and a newer one that we had, Gran Reserva Eminente,
The
which I think was
10-year.
a limited run, right? It was only available for a
I believe so,
specific amount of
yeah.
time.
And that's the black label bottle, right?
No, it's got a white label on it.
There's a white and a black label in that bottle.
I thought it was green.
I have a
Maybe
picture of
green.
it.
Yeah.
I think it's green band.
Probably
Yeah.
green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you guys think of that rum? Because that was my first time having it. I found it to be very maple forward, very syrupy almost.
Yeah.
To me, we've tried so many rums. So, you mentioned obviously Havana Club. We've had the 7, the 15, Pacto Navio, Santiago. We've had the 11, the 12,
The
the
20.
20. They all drink similarly, but have different qualities about them. That Eminente 10-year, not the regular Eminente, the 10-year was the most concentrated, robust, yet smooth,
Very smooth.
unlike any other rum I've had in Cuba, period. It was delicious.
It was delicious.
It's like a meal
Wow.
in a good way.
I haven't had that yet.
Yeah, it
we
was
had
really
it at
good.
Nino's place in the afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah, our
Nice.
friend Nino down
Nice.
there.
Nice.
Yeah.
in the afternoon, and we did finish it.
And we heard a disappointing story about the whole Santiago line of spirits.
Yeah, so we heard from one of our friends at the Partagas shop that Santiago was purchased by another company in the UK,
Right.
and they're expecting that the things are going to change,
Not
in the
good.
flavor of it, which is a disappointing thing, 'cause
Tremendous
that's
disappointment.
Santiago 20 is just. We did it on the podcast. I think it got a flat 10.
It's a holy grail of rum.
Phenomenal.
As far as I'm concerned.
And we also like the 11 and 12. We dispute that in the group. But the preference is there. I like the 11. I also
11's
like the 12.
much better than the 12, I think.
Senator
False.
vehemently
False.
disagrees.
False.
In your
12.
opinion.
I'm sorry. I asked just timeout. I don't think Bam was there for this. We were poured the 12-year at Kempinski. Every single person took a sip of that and was like, wow, this is amazing. It was so smooth, but flavorful and rich. And we had the 11-year when we were out at the farms in Vinales. And outside of Gizmo, every other person I asked had said that the 12-year we were poured was better than 11. So
I don't know.
the only reason I say false, the majority sided with me on that.
So I will say what I said to you was I want to do them next to each other, back to back, because the 11 I had out in Vinales was amazing,
Okay.
but I wasn't having it back to back. I was at a tobacco farm. We were in the car for 2.5 hours. That was like the nectar of the gods after that ride.
You're couching
okay?
it now, by the way.
No, but that's what I said to you. Correct?
No, that's what you said.
But
But it doesn't change that the
Look-
12-year, even your reaction, you couldn't believe what you were drinking.
Yeah,
it was
look,
excellent.
honestly,
It was
the 2 trips ago, we had the 11 and the 12. I at that time loved the 11 over the 12.
The thing I did say to Senator Tubam, to your point, is I did say I think the 12 in the whatever we were drinking, maybe like Rob Isle has said about the runs.
Yeah,
I
could
think
be
the
a run.
current batch
Yeah.
of 12 is actually better than it was a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
That's
I do.
probably what it is.
Now-
I really
the
do.
the big difference, I would just say, I mean, this is where it is a matter of personal preference. I'm joking. There's obviously no factual statements here. The 12-year.
Do you know how happy it makes me to hear that coming out of his mouth?
No, I mean that's the reality with That's why we rate among the the group. I mean, we've all have different palates.
Correct.
But what it comes down to is if you prefer a sweeter rum, I think the 11-year is objectively, this I would argue is fact, sweeter than the 12. And the 12 I think is drier in terms of the finish. I like a drier almost any spirit. I don't like anything that's overly sweet. So for me, the 12-year is just more suited to my palate, and I think drinks a little bit more refined. Just it's more balanced. That's why I use that word refined. But that's personal preference. If you like a more traditional, sweeter rum, then sure, you're going to like the 11 more than the 12. For me, I just think the 12 is much more
But you like
balanced.
that Eminente, which was a little bit on the sweeter side.
But not as sweet as Santiago 11. That's why, like, from
Really?
a sweetness perspective, that's more my speed.
I've only had the 12 once. I think it requires another try.
I think still the Santiago 20 is still on the top. Right?
Of course, but now future runs are suspect, right?
Yeah,
Because
who
of new
knows what's
ownership.
going to happen?
Yeah,
I don't know why would that change?
Cost cutting.
Yeah.
you just never know.
Cost cutting. You never know.
What costs are they going to cut from Cuba?
Well,
I mean, just going to age it less.
Who
Who
knows?
knows?
We'll try it, I guess. Yeah.
the other thing I want to mention too to the listener is I think a big revelation I had on this trip versus previous ones was, and we mentioned having the Havana Club 15, is how consistent and really perfect for our experience the inexpensive Havana Club 7 was in comparison to the 12 and the 15. Like for $22, we drank more of that than almost anything on the trip, and it delivered every single time.
It was outstanding.
Yeah,
Outstanding.
I mean, this was the funny thing. Every single other rum that we had there, we had it, we enjoyed it. We said, this is very good. But for the price, because all of those other rums we're naming, Santiago 11 and 12 are actually very affordable. Now we'll see what it becomes, but they're like 30 something a bottle. But everything else, like Pacto Navio is like $60 a bottle. The 15-year Havana Club, right? That's $250 a bottle. Those are higher priced spirits. And we're sitting there saying these are really good. But from a price point, a value standpoint, nothing beats $20 Havana Club 7.
The 7,
No.
yeah.
We all like, we would have one glass and we're like, okay, let's go back to the 7. You know, it's so satisfying at such an insanely low price. You don't need to spend more
No.
to have an enjoyable rum there.
It drinks so smoothly and easily. It's
And-
delicious.
And to use a word we referenced earlier, when I drink 7, it's like I'm sitting at home with a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Like that is the flavor of Havana to me, is Havana Club 7 with a great cigar.
Yeah.
For price, for value, and even compared to something that's 10 times more expensive in the Santiago 20 or the Havana 15,
Yeah.
it really feels amazing. Price disregarded.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
It improves your mood immediately. It's great for a pre-evening drink. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's excellent. So the other thing I want to talk about, boys, certainly for anyone traveling to Havana, is the customs experience. So we mentioned, I don't know how many episodes ago. So, we're all New York based. So we fly out of Newark, LaGuardia, or JFK. Certainly there's a lot of listeners around the U.S. who were connecting either through JFK, LaGuardia, Newark, or we're going right to Miami. Unfortunately, both United and JetBlue have stopped traveling direct to Havana. Actually, JetBlue is done traveling to Havana, period. So this time we had to fly out of LaGuardia, and then we flew into we all connected through Miami is the point of this. So from a customs experience, what did you guys feel this time compared to flying the direct flights? And what did you feel about flying through Miami?
Well, before we should also note we all flew American this time.
I didn't mention that on purpose.
We all had a very nice experience.
It was very
excellent
nice.
experience.
It
I
was
have to
very
admit,
nice.
it was awesome.
It's great.
It was really good.
awesome. I'm hooked. I'm hooked.
Thank you.
I am.
I got to say, American was very good. The service on the flights was impeccable. Very similar to what we were saying about Cinco Sentidos.
I need to build up my frequent flyer miles so I can take advantage of that.
By the way, Senator yelled at me. He said I ruined his life. Direct quote.
He did.
He
What?
said I ruined his life because he now has United status and lost his American status.
No,
He's
I
tainted now.
have American status. It's I lost the highest American status
Oh,
that
God.
I've had
because
for
of
years.
me. He's saying I ruined
It
his
is
life.
because listen, the listener can go back and play the tape. I
deleted the
strong
tape.
as I am in my opinions, right? We've all learned something from each other, and I wrote United off years ago, and so I had not flown them much in the last few years. And Gizmo was so bullish that United's good, and I sat there. I said, okay, look, I can learn something. Maybe he's right. So I committed to starting to fly United a whole lot more last year, so much so that I earned status on that shit airline, and I'm disappointed every time. I mean, it doesn't matter where you sit on their plane. You can buy a first class ticket and you're still treated like shit there. You flew first on American. It's an entirely different experience. The fucking seats are beautiful. They're comfortable. The service on the plane, they actually treat you with respect. I mean, to me, it's night and day. And I asked every guy that was on the trip, and every single person said they were very pleased with the American experience.
Sure.
It was excellent. By the way,
Sure.
he sat in front of me on the flight home, and I see him peek through the seat, and he goes, "How comfortable these seats are." As if he's sewn.
You should have recorded that, by the way.
As if he's sewn the leather himself.
Of course he did.
Like he was the guy that put the seats together.
He
He goes,
picked the stitching out.
yeah, he set the whole thing
I mean,
up. But
just having access to that beautiful lounge.
It was
is worth
incredible.
yeah, the lounge at LaGuardia was very nice.
Yeah.
The avocado toast
Yeah.
with salmon.
Yeah, smoked salmon. And for, again, this is only for listeners who are like very frequent travelers and geek out over stuff like this, and this matters to them in the way it does to me. I travel a lot for business. The United lounges, they're fine, but they're factories. Like it feels like almost like a Lufthansa lounge or something. Like it's very German. There's a huge like cafeteria, and there's a zillion people flooding the place, and they have things that you need there. I pursue an airport lounge to get away from the craziness, right? It's the alternative to standing out in the terminal with people screaming and stressed out and all the just nonsense that happens out there. So for me, the United lounges, I'm never all that relaxed in. It still feels crazy. The American lounges, there's always a lot less people. They have a more stringent, I think, requirement just to even have access to the lounges than United does. And so it's just calm, it's peaceful. It's not cafeteria factory style. They have a woman who stands there with fresh made avocado, not like you see in some of these joke lounges or places where they're taking avocado out of a plastic bag and squeezing it out and it's not even fresh. This is like fresh mashed avocado. They're putting smoked salmon. They had prosciutto. I mean, it's just more bespoke. It's like made to order. And I just like that about the American lounges.
Big bespoke guy.
Well, yeah, the coffee was great.
La Colombe.
I'm telling you, man. It was, and they had so what's cool is if you're traveling with a family with little kids, they have an arcade center for
that's
the kids.
cool. I didn't see that.
All the American lounges have playrooms for kids.
Yeah, it's
That's
very
cool.
cool. Very
The one thing
It's
I
a
will
big
say,
lounge.
the one thing I will say that Senator agreed with me
I do.
at the moment was that the bar, so we were there early. I think our flight was 7:45.
Mhm.
The bar doesn't open till 8 a.m.
Yeah,
So
that's
we
true.
couldn't even have a pre-flight Bloody Mary.
You were marking. You were taking marks.
I was
told you.
taking notes.
You were keeping receipts.
I was.
I looked into this because I was just as upset. It's not acceptable. It depends on the airport. And that was a LaGuardia thing. So when we left the lounge and we were in the terminal going to our gate, there was a big bar there.
It was
They
closed.
were closed too.
That's right. You're
Where
right.
here in other airports, at 7 a.m, you see people drinking at the bars in the airports. For some reason, LaGuardia is very weird about the start time for serving alcohol. So it's not just American, it's a
Yeah.
LaGuardia thing.
This guy runs defense for American Airlines.
No.
Right,
You have
correct.
to understand.
Am I
Giz,
wrong, Bam?
You are absolutely
No,
correct.
I'm sorry. You're both incorrect. Here's
I
why.
don't know. You're like a spokesman, man.
No, when Giz said this,
Bespoke.
Bespoke spokesman.
get it out. Get it out. Are you ready?
We're done. Go ahead.
When Giz said this to me, I literally was equally upset. I was going to write a letter to American about this. And I've done this in the past. I've told you a story with the eggs there.
Yeah, you
Again.
did fix the eggs.
Frequent business traveler, I think it's silly. If you're sitting in an airport lounge, you're in a suit, you're going to a meeting, you're trying to have a quick breakfast. At the American lounges and many other lounges, they'll have like boiled eggs and some other things. I couldn't believe at the American lounge, these boiled eggs, they have these shells on, and you're just sitting there picking apart piece after piece to just get to the egg. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm wearing a suit. I don't want
No.
eggshells all over me. This would be solved so easily if they just pre-peeled them, like I've seen other places do, and put them out. I wrote a letter to American. I got a very nice response, an apology. They completely agreed, and they said that they were going to work to implement across all their lounges the eggs being peeled. And now if you go in any American lounge, they're peeled. So I'm fine criticizing American when they're wrong. On the time, though, unfortunately, it's an airport thing.
Say it, Bam.
Peeled eggs.
Say it, Bam.
Bespoke spokesman.
Global Air Travel Insider.
Global American Airlines
That's
insider.
important.
I like, by the way, that when a lizard speaks, American listens.
That's true.
That is a good mark on there.
Yeah.
You think if I sent that to United, they'd tell me to fuck off? I mean, they would.
That's because I would tell them to.
No.
But I do agree with Senator on this, right? I don't know why, but I got some complimentary upgrades on the way there
There you
and on
go.
the way back, and I have no idea why.
Nice. Well,
Welcome to American.
Hey,
pagoda,
listen,
lizard pagoda. That's why.
Listen,
Because they
this-
lost his luggage.
That's right.
and they brought it the same day.
Same
So
day.
listen,
After hours at night.
Right.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like 7
But
o'clock at night.
having said that, that lounge is superb. It's
It
a
is.
20,000 square foot lounge,
Outstanding.
which is better than any other. Well,
Yeah.
they might be. I mean, maybe some of the Centurion lounges are comparable.
Better
or
than any other airline.
Airline.
lounge.
Yeah, the Amex
Yeah.
loungers are nice.
Mm.
So I want to get back to briefly the customs experience
Yeah,
for the
in-
listener
in
out
Miami.
there. The Miami customs experience, I found customs to be actually a little bit smoother just because with the connection, I think it was a little bit squeezed on time and they
It was.
recognized that. So we didn't have to waste as much time. But I know Pagoda specifically, unfortunately was the one out of all of us that got picked off to have his bags inspected and he lost some cigars.
the
Yeah.
Hispanic looking one. This is ridiculous.
Well, we
No,
all
I'm
have,
just kidding.
we all have
But-
a little patina on his skin.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but overall,
When you're a nervous traveler, you could be an easy target.
Well, when your eyeballs are like binoculars going through the.
I mean, can you just imagine? Like, I'm sure they can tell like your heart rate as you're like walking through
Oh,
there.
yeah, sweating.
Pagoda's like fucking beating so fast, sweating.
Like we're getting this guy.
You're,
And,
you're a
you know,
sweetheart, bro.
it's really interesting that 3 people spent about an hour and they took 20 cigars from me. So that's
Wow.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
What a great use of their time, right?
it's true.
Listen, you know what? Hey, how about just leaving those 20 cigars for personal consumption?
Right.
No.
These were the ones that you brought with you into Cuba.
Yeah, you didn't
Yes.
even buy them there.
No,
You
I
didn't
did
even
not.
buy them.
Yeah, I did not even buy them there. But it is what it is. Listen, overall, it was an experience, I think. I've
Yeah.
learned through it and I'll handle them better next time.
So the customs experience when you're flying to Havana through Miami is pretty damn seamless.
Yeah.
I was actually shocked.
It was fine.
I mean, they have it such that you don't have to, your bags automatically go on to Havana. You don't have to collect them at Miami and then
That's right.
recheck them. None of that, which was great. You just go right into you're in the same terminal that you land your connecting flight. They have a person at the gate selling the visa, so you don't have to go to a separate place like other airports to get it. That part was pretty easy. I know for most of us, Our gate was literally 2 gates down. Our
So
connecting
close.
flight.
Yeah,
Couldn't have been
not
easier.
mine.
Rooster got unlucky. His was further.
Yeah, I landed on D7 and I had to make it to D47.
Oh.
And the flight was already late, so I had literally had about half an hour to make it to the gate.
You were sprinting.
Yeah. But the reason I say that is going in, I feel like that was as seamless an experience as you can possibly have. But coming out, that's where Miami clearly has not really figured that out. well.
Absolutely not.
No, because they want to check your bags,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it is ridiculous. in a
So
way.
to elaborate on what Senator was saying, so when you get off the plane in Miami, coming back home,
Mhm.
connecting, you had to go through, you had to get off the plane, go through customs, collect your bag, go through the secondary customs
And-
where they pick some people off.
Yeah, and you're
and then
going on an
recheck.
odyssey.
And,
Odyssey. It takes an odyssey to get
it's
there.
an odyssey.
Yeah.
And then you got to recheck your bag
Yeah.
and then go through security again
Mhm.
to go back into the terminal to get on your domestic flight to come home. And that's where Pagoda unfortunately got picked off.
And and the thing is, the timing difference is about an hour and a half, and now you're stuck in customs for about an hour. So now you're rushing. I don't understand the overall idea behind.
You know what I don't understand is the TSA. It's the thing is not uniform. Like some airports, you have to take your shoes off, and some you don't. Who dictates that?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do what they want. And it did not
in
have,
in my
like having TSA pre-check or global entry did not
He's
factor
right.
into that.
Yeah, he's right.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's very simple. If you don't have global entry or TSA pre-check, you have to take your shoes off everywhere. The difference was that route we took was specifically for connecting flights through Miami. And so they obviously recognize, in the interest of time, people are going to miss flights if they have to take their shoes off, do all this. So they treated everyone as if they were a pre-check traveler, and you could keep your shoes on, keep your laptops in the bag, which was the one smart thing they did. The
So
rest is a mess. But
That was my exact experience. No shoes off. I kept my hat on, walked right through. Yeah. So that was a courteous. Yeah.
So I think our collective advice to anybody who's listening to this podcast is to go to Havana with the intention of not buying cigars. And I say that because, as we just detailed, there's really not much stock there.
No.
So to go down there and to load up on what you can actually get in the country with maybe a little bit of a premium, get what you want from certain retailers, the risk going through Miami, which is generally a very intense customs experience. We've all heard horror stories of people traveling through Miami. To me, it's not worth the risk. Don't go to Havana with the intention of buying cigars. Go with the intention of, giving stuff away. Get some cigars if you're able to get some, fine, but don't load up for the for the sake of it. Do that when you're in the States. Just pay a bit of a premium, 10%, whatever.
You're
it is.
going to enjoy the experience.
it's-
really.
I agree, but if you are for some reason intent on buying cigars there, just don't go through Miami.
There you go.
Right?
Oh,
We
yeah.
heard from people that we sat with in Havana saying if they fly through Houston,
Houston. Yeah.
no problem.
Yeah.
at all.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
And that's a United flight. You got to go through
Yeah.
Houston.
Oh, okay.
No, I was just going to say that it's easier said than done because, all of us have a pretty extensive collection.
That's true.
But going to Havana as a first time listener and going there, you're going to be tempted. You're
course.
You're going to want to buy
We
stuff.
all were tempted the first time
and
we
we
went.
still did. We actually still did
Yeah.
buy stuff.
Yeah,
but
and,
not
and
a
the
lot.
other thing I'll say, going through Miami, can you get through there with a little? Sure. I mean, I had 50 Cuban cigars on me. I wasn't stopped. I had, some rum, wasn't stopped. I all made it through. So
Nice.
it's just you can't be excessive, and you have to be very calm.
You have to use your
As
discernment.
you're going
As
through
he looks at
Pagoda.
Pagoda.
Listen, you know what? I don't even mind everything. It's just that it make you feel like a criminal, as if what is it that you've done? You've got something from Cuba, meaning like, hey, listen, you go over there, you're going to buy something for your personal consumption. Either don't allow us to go there completely, but if we're going there and we're allowed to come back, let us get a few cigars, even for guests, like for gifts or whatever. It's small. So the interesting thing is now you can get Cuban cigars from anywhere in the world for personal consumption, and you're allowed up to a limited amount. Like I think it's over 100, by the way, a couple of hundred cigars or something. And the only place you're not allowed to get the cigars from is Cuba, and I just don't understand
We
the
have an
reasoning
embargo.
behind it. Yeah,
Yeah, it's the damn embargo.
Yeah.
Correct.
Life's not fair, Pagoda.
I'm back to my new worlds. Where's my ALR?
So, boys, it's time to move into the ratings portion of our episode tonight.
Yeah.
We're going to start with the formal liquor rating of the Glenlivet 14-year aged single malt Scotch whiskey. Bam Bam, you're up.
So, the second pour, I had this neat. I think the rest of us did as well. Honestly, it's drinking deliciously and smooth. And for the price of 14-year aged whiskey or Scotch, I'm going to give this a 10.
All right.
Wow.
Really, the
Awesome.
experience for me is just, it drinks like a sophisticated spirit. It's delicious. No harsh edges at all. 10 for me.
Pagoda.
Wow, you've just raised the bar. I was at a 9. I think I'll stick to a 9. I think I really, really like it. I really enjoy it. I've just been a little averse in terms of buying the Glenlivet for whatever reason, because it's just so omnipresent often. And
So you're
Not-
stigmatizing the spirit.
Not fancy enough for Pagoda.
Oh,
no, I didn't mean to come across that way. But but this drink has been delicious. I
I mean,
have really enjoyed it. I really can't complain.
Senator.
This is tough in that I'm at a minimum a 9 for sure.
You
I've
can
been
always
the
change.
entire way.
yeah.
This is why I'm going to talk this out until I'm certain.
Rooster, we left that argument in 2023.
I'm
Those
gonna
days are over.
I'm going to exhaust this until I'm very comfortable with the rating. It's definitely a 9. The 10, I can't fault Bam for giving it that, because the funny thing is, as I'm drinking this, I'm sitting here, I can't find anything wrong with it.
You're drinking it
It's
neat now.
delicious.
and I'm
It's a
drinking it
neat, yeah.
neat.
And it
There are
gulp-
not many scotches that
No.
are this smooth yet this flavorful neat.
Consistent sips one after another, and they're going down so smooth. I'm not trying to couch your rating, but wow.
Yeah, this is tough.
He's stumped, Bam. Do you know?
I'm just trying to. The thing I'm trying to think of is other 14-year.
The
single
Caribbean
malts
cask
we've had.
Balvenie.
Yeah, Balvenie
Yeah.
Caribbean
14.
cask. This neat is smoother than that.
It
I
is
would
much
say.
smoother than that.
And the price point.
The price
Yeah.
point is much cheaper.
$68.
Yeah.
Yeah, that the Caribbean cask, what, 80, 90?
I think it's
Yeah.
like 80
No,
bucks.
It's like
74.
80,
80.
75, 80.
What other 14 years? Oban 14.
Oban is a good one.
That's
yeah.
a $90
It's a little bit
bottle.
more peaty, though, of course.
It is.
Slightly.
And I don't think that would pair as well with the Cuban cigars this did tonight.
This
This did pair really well.
It's a
I'm
no-brainer.
gonna round up. I'm
It's a
gonna give it.
no-brainer.
I'm gonna give it a 10. When
Awesome.
you factor
Wow.
everything into it,
it's
I mean, I'm
undeniable.
stunned. I never imagined I would give this a 10, but the price point is ridiculous for what this delivers. I would absolutely buy this. I would absolutely drink it again. There's no reason for me not to give it a 10. This could easily crack right into my rotation.
We're gonna fight over the rest of that bottle tonight.
Oh, no,
I
we're
do
not.
think
It's
so.
gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
So I'm also at a 10. I wrote it down even before we started. This is a superior Scotch for $68, 14 years aged. I'm really, really impressed. I don't even know what the rating of the 18-year age Glenlivet was. I'll look as soon as we finish here, but it was really, really, really good. I'm super impressed with this spirit tonight. And boys, the formal liquor rating is a 9.8.
Wow. So for this maker to get that kind of a rating in this room, that's really
It's
rare
huge.
and unique. Yeah.
It's huge.
It's huge. Glenlivet?
So let's look at the other ratings we've done. Like I said, this is
just quickly. We can't say Glenlivet like Glenlivet is some
I know.
bargain
brain.
basement,
But going
garbage
back-
brand.
going back to
Glenlivet,
what-
there's a reason that Glenlivet produces more Scotch than anybody. It's one of the older distilleries in Scotland. Their 18-year is outstanding. I've had their 25-year, which is a very expensive bottle.
Haven't
It's
tried that.
excellent.
Wow.
bespoke.
Excellent. You all benefit because I tried this stuff. Let us not forget.
Correct.
By the way, they served that at the United Lounge.
Do they?
Ooh.
Oh.
That's exactly where I did not have it.
Well, Senator now has United status, so he'll get advantage of
Yes,
that.
I'll have some great Ballantines blended whiskey there. But
I think you're right. We take it for granted because
Yeah.
it's so available.
that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
only reason people say that.
It's
I mean,
true.
Glenlivet makes
true.
some real. Their higher end stuff competes with anybody.
Yeah,
They're 18 and 25. I'd put against anybody's 18 or
that's a
25.
good point.
So let's talk about it. We did the Glenlivet 18 on episode 26, which got a 9.3.
Wow.
And on episode 60, we did the Glenlivet 12, which got an 8.0.
Still a very
so
good
this
score.
is
Dude.
the highest rated Glenlivet that we've done, and I think that value factors into that.
For sure.
Sure.
You know, how much is the 18, year age bottle? It's got to be probably close to 150, I would
No,
think.
so that's the one thing that's nice about Glenlivet. Because they produce at the level they do, they can be really competitive on price. So their 18-year, you look at any other brand 18, it's over 200. Glenlivet 18 you can get for 160.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a very good price for an 18-year spirit.
And the 12-year is so affordable. You know, we have it at larger gatherings,
Yeah.
and it's like I said earlier, we take it for granted, so we don't consider it a high-level spirit. But this is something special.
No, this
So-
was great, actually, to be
Yeah.
very honest.
Yeah.
This could have been easily rated 10.
Dude, a 9 is
For me.
still an elite
9.8.
score.
Yeah,
9.8.
Yeah.
that's
And-
very good. Yeah.
and-
Sorry,
know-
I stand corrected. Glenlivet 18 you can get for 150 at Total Wine.
There you go.
Wow.
There you
Wow.
go.
The price point's incredible.
That's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
So it's about double what this is. But I think if I'm a listener out there and I'm hearing this rating, I'd skip the 18 and go right for the 14. For value, this is an excellent, excellent scotch.
Amazing.
Yeah.
yeah, and you can drink it every day. I mean, at that
Exactly.
price point, that's what's great about it.
Yes. Yeah. And what I love about it too is it paired really, really well because I think, like I said, because I think it's finished in the cognac casks. It really paired well with the Cuban cigar.
Yeah, it
I
doesn't
don't know if-
overwhelm
Exactly.
the Cuban cigar profile.
Exactly.
It doesn't. But what I will say is it has enough flavor that I think this will hold up against any cigar.
What are the other casks it's in? If you
Now,
don't mind?
Senator makes a good point. I can have this with a Millennium Pyramid
Yeah,
easily.
I'd have it with Padron too.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Is this with sherry, sherry cask as well, or
No.
I
No?
think it's oak
Cognac.
and then cognac.
Yeah.
it's oak and cognac? All
Yeah,
right.
I think so. All right, boys, it's time to move into the formal lizard rating tonight of the Punch Double Corona from Cuba. Rooster, you're up.
So I'm at a solid 9 with this. And I think with a little bit more age, I think it's definitely a 10. There is absolutely nothing wrong with this cigar. It's a great cigar. It's very balanced. We had absolutely no issues with the cigar from the beginning to the end. So, I mean, I just can't take any points away from this. I mean, having said that, I think with a little bit more age, I think
You
it's
took a point
solid
away.
10. Well, I did take a point away because of the age.
That's correct.
Because of the age. Because, what if I do get a 50 cab of 2014 and what am I going to rate that?
Well,
So,
we're going to come over and
so
try.
Maybe they're both 10s.
They might both be 10s.
yeah, for now at this point, this is a 9 for
Yeah.
me.
Okay, Senator.
All right, so I agree with half of what Rooster said in that I can't find anything wrong with it.
What else is new?
I can't find anything wrong with it.
Yeah.
I can't.
I know.
It's not showing youth for how relatively young it is.
It smokes older.
The construction, this is the best constructed double Corona I have ever had by far. It's not even close. The burn was razor sharp the entire way through, minimal touch-ups. I'm going to give it a 10.
Yeah.
I mean, the flavor profile was delicious. It's not a simple, basic cigar. There's enough complexity here. I would absolutely smoke this again. I wish I saw this come up more and it were easier to attain a box
yeah.
of these. It's spectacular. It's a 10.
So for me, just like I did when I wrote down the score for the Scotch, this is also a 10, just like the Scotch was for me. I agree with everything that you said, Senator. I think this was one of the best, if not the best, double Corona I've ever experienced.
Are you ready, Rooster? What's new?
I'm gonna
Agrees with everything I said.
That's also correct.
No, it is not. Hey, this is episode what? 117? That is not the
He's
case.
even come around on American.
That is not the case.
So Gizmo's gonna unload the Lucy caps that he has. I'm gonna buy them at half price.
Yeah, I'll
I don't
take-
think so.
I'll take one.
I don't think so. No, I mean, guys, this was just a spectacular
Yeah,
constructed
It
cigar.
is.
yeah.
It top to bottom. I took it all the way down to like a half an inch.
Mhm.
I mean, it was phenomenal. Every single draw was perfect.
Yeah.
And to think that this is only two years aged, a little bit more than 2 years aged, I can't even imagine what this box is going to be like in 5 or 7 years. It was excellent. It's a 10 all day. Pagoda.
10, no question. For a double Corona, excellent draw, excellent combustion. In fact, if you look at the room, it's smoky.
Yeah.
It is.
It's like a new world, really, in a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
So if you like the smoke output coming out from a Cuban for such a long cigar with great draw, great flavor profile, it picked up towards the second half, which I really enjoyed as well. Just a fantastic experience all night. And it's been a 10 from the very beginning. and I didn't even waver. It didn't even go down a bit.
Yeah.
This has been a fantastic experience.
Agreed.
A 10 for me.
I agree. Bam Bam.
I can't disagree with a 10 rating, so I'm right there. You know, at $35, it's worth every dollar.
Agree.
So the value of the experience that you're getting from this and everything you've all said, the performance, the draw was fantastic. Combustion, of course, was off the charts. But the flavor profile, that fruit note for me continued all the way down into the first and second, third, and then slight white pepper, and the body built up for me. It was velvety smooth all the way down to the end. 10.
I love it.
Yeah.
The Former Lizard rating, boys, is a 9.8, matching the Glenlivet 14 that we had tonight. Can you believe it?
That's lunacy.
That's a perfect pairing.
Dude.
A 9.8.
All right. No boxes for Rooster.
I said 2014 50 caps.
So, boys, let's compare this to the other punches we've done. We've done 5 now on the podcast. The first one we did not rate. It was on New Year's Eve 2021. We were very young and green at that time.
Now, hold on. I got to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
For a value brand, we've done 5 punches on this podcast.
We have.
5.
Yeah, 5.
Think about that.
Yeah.
This is not a value marca.
No,
this is a high-end exclusive
Well,
marca.
according to
please.
Habanos.
According to them.
Habanos,
Yes, of
yeah.
course. Something to say.
I hope nobody from Habanos is listening to this episode.
Agreed.
So New Year's Eve 2021, we did the Mantua, which was a regional edition from Italy. We did not rate it on that episode. On episode 20, we did the Punch, as we discussed earlier. It did not perform as well as I think all of us would have liked. It was a 7.7. On episode 58, we did the Punch Duke, which was another regional from Mexico. That did not perform well, if you remember, 6.6. And on episode 102, we did the Punch Short to Punch as part of a short smoke special, which got a flat 8.0. So this, as the flagship of the Punch marker from Cuba, getting a 9.8 tonight, is the far and away winner of what we've done on this podcast so far from Punch.
Yeah, it's a very elegant experience.
I can't believe how good the construction was.
Yeah.
I mean, top to bottom, like I didn't touch it up at all.
I would consider this a celebratory cigar
It
for
is.
a special event
Yes.
on a holiday. I think it would hit the mark.
And for the listeners out there, if I'm you, I would chase a 25 count box of this over Lucy's right now. I think Lucy's people are chasing every day. Bond Roberts, the numbers are through the roof. I think these are kind of under the radar.
Mm-hmm.
Rooster's yelling at me.
pointing to Gizmo.
Please,
Who's
please
chasing
edit this.
Yeah, he's got them all.
No, but I mean, this is a cigar that's under the radar, certainly from a double Corona, sitting well behind Ramon Gigantes, Hoyo double Corona, and Partagas Lusitania. This is number 4 as far as what people chase, right? I mean, widely, this is not what people are looking for.
Last thing I'll say on this. Number 1, I'm smoking this all the way down to the nub. And it's notable particularly because this is a double Corona, right? This is as big a cigar as you would ever buy or smoke.
Mhm.
Usually I have a double Corona, even a Lucy. When I'm down to the last fourth, you get a little tired of the cigar. I mean, you've been smoking the thing for almost 2 hours.
And
at
you
that
get
point.
potential tar buildup in the cigar like that.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever taken a Lucy this far down.
I don't remember seeing him
And
with a cigar that far down.
Yeah,
Look
never.
at Pagoda. We both laughed.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in the exact same boat I am. The flavor is still so spectacular with this little left of the cigar. Not harsh. I mean, Bam.
Half inch.
It's
Just this is a usual thing for me, but this is just an incredible stick.
it's unreal. And the last thing I'll say is I'll make a definitive statement. For me, this is the best double Corona I've ever had.
That's
I'm
quite
happy
a
to hear
statement,
that.
dude. Yeah.
Same
Happy to
here.
hear that.
I have yet to go beyond the 1/3 of a Lucy.
Wow.
Wow.
That's how bad of an
Oh.
experience I've had.
Jeez.
I mean, I've had like maybe 7 or 8 Lusitanias
So could we
from
say
all
that
different ages,
this
but
is-
I have not. I mean, that's just my.
is this an
personal
overrated? Is it an
experience.
overrated cigar? Is that
I don't
controversial
think,
statement?
I don't think so, but it's
Well,
just
the only
just
thing,
my
so
experience.
I gave you the famous caviar night in Champagne at my house. I gave you a Lucy that night.
that might have been the only good Lucy I've ever
That
had.
cab, I'm just so. It's an
Yeah.
amazing cab, and
So-
that was from Cigar Terminal. Believe it or not, it's
Do
a
you-
20.
What year was that?
I think
2020.
it's 2020.
Yeah.
Here's a question, and this is not that I'm an expert on how to keep a humidor at certain percentages based on the cigar itself, but maybe a larger cigar requires a drier environment, maybe much drier than we think.
I'll
Possibly.
say-
I
say
don't
this.
agree.
I'll say this about the cigar we had tonight. This has been at probably 61, 62 for about a year and a half.
Wow. That's
So
pretty low.
I'm happy with the experience we had tonight in the way that each of these cigars burned. I do think that affects it.
No, it does. But the thing that's just funny, I noticed on the wrapper, and Bam called this out when we first started smoking it. It reminds me of my 50 cab of Lucy's. I'm not sure exactly. I mean, who can be that precise to know inside that cab
Exactly.
exactly what it is? But when I open my Lucy 50 cab, there's a sheen on all those wrappers in a
Yep.
way that for some other D4s I have or other cigars in my tower, there's not quite that level of sheen on that. I don't associate many Cuban cigars with having
That's true.
a really notable sheen
Yeah.
on the wrapper like you have in some thicker New World wrappers. But this cigar, similar to that Lucy cab, as soon as I held it in my hand and Bam called it out and we started lighting it, there was just this beautiful sheen on the wrapper. And I don't think that those oils come out at a very aggressively low RH. There's got to be a decent enough amount of humidity for that to happen. So whether it's 61, 62, even 63, I think it's got to be at least there to enjoy the best of what a large format cigar like this has to
Yeah.
offer.
I mean,
Could
my
be.
whole tower is at like between 60, 63 on the bottom, about 62 on the top.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's an issue. The Lucy problems that I've had are mostly draw issues.
Well,
So
it's
it's a
also
construction problem.
Very,
Yeah.
yeah.
it could be a
construction
factor of
problems.
humidity. You just never know.
I also think they make a lot more Lusitanias than they do this.
It's true.
But they're also in 50 cab boxes. Maybe they need to be separated. Maybe they need to breathe a little
No,
bit.
I disagree.
No.
I think
it's
no.
Mine have
No.
all stayed in that
Yeah.
cab.
Okay.
And why I say I'm lucky again, there's nothing more exciting when any of us gets a 50 cab when
yeah.
you pull it out by
Oh,
the
it's the
band and
greatest.
look at
Nothing
them.
like that.
And I have a photo I had sent when I got that cab. It's the only 50 cab I've ever bought. Every one of them, the feet look incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
and
haven't pulled one bad one from that.
Some of the best cigars that I have in my tower are out of a 50 cab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether
Interesting.
it be Punch Punch, the Mantua,
Yeah.
any other 50 cab. I mean, even the Hoyos. I mean, they all smoke great.
Nice. What other 50 cabs do you have?
That's it.
We should go over there to do an
We-
inventory.
We need a, yeah.
Well, boys, what a perfect cigar tonight for our Havana recap episode for 2024. I mean, to give us over 2 hours of this kind of experience is just unmatched. And honestly, I'll be honest, I was a little nervous bringing this cigar in tonight for the length of it, for what kind of investment of time this cigar is. And now I feel very confident recommending this to any listener out there. So, boys, what an excellent start to our Havana recap. Like I said, next in 2 weeks, we're going to have our Vinales trip recap. We went out to visit some tobacco farms, learned about that process, the growing process, the fermentation process, etc. And then in 4 weeks from today, our interview with Danilo in Havana, 2 hours with the production manager of Cohiba and El Laguito. What a special time. So this is the first of 3. So be sure to tune in 2 weeks and then in 4 weeks.
We'll need to smoke a Cohiba that night.
Ooh, we should. While we listen to it, Bam.
Correct.
While we listen to it. So boys, on both the Glenlivet 14-year age single malt Scotch and the Punch double Corona from Cuba, we had a 9.8 tonight. What a perfect pairing.
Spectacular night.
Couldn't have been better.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll see everybody next week. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for joining us. You can find our merch store and ratings archive at our brand new website, loungelizardspod.com. That's loungelizardspod.com. Don't forget to leave us a rating and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. If you have any comments, questions, if you want to reach out, say hello, tell us what you're smoking, email us, hello@loungelizardspod.com. You can also find us on Instagram @loungelizardspod. We really appreciate your time, and we'll see you next week.